Good morning.
You know, there was something nice last night as I watched the absolute demolition of the Minnesota Timberwolves. What a joke Minnesota was last night. Watching that game, or lack thereof, as I prepared to lay my sweet head down to rest, I started scrolling around the world of the sports internet, which can be a scary place sometimes.
I'm sorry, who are you?
Hi, I'm Rob Brown. Welcome to the Rob Brown Show here on the Fan Upstate. That's Lonzo over there, that handsome devil. As I, Rob Brown, of the Rob Brown Show here on the Fan Upstate, laid my sweet little head to rest and decided to make one more pass through the world of the internet to see what may or may not have happened yesterday in preparation for the foremost electrifying hours of sports talk entertainment anywhere in America this glorious morning. I came across a couple of pieces that have been placed on the internet. And those pieces contained the official kickoff times of like multiple college football games when the fall rolls around in less than 100 days from now. And there was something nice about it. Now, y'all know I am a basketball guy. The NBA playoffs have been okay. They've been okay. We had a couple of good series, Indiana, New York, but if we can say anything about Indiana, New York, it's that unfortunately injuries kind of wrecked that series to some degree. We had a real good series between Minnesota and Denver. Outside of that, they've not been that good. The Boston Celtics kept coming up against teams that either did not have or in the process lost their superstars from start to finish. The Dallas Mavericks took the two of the top 3 seeds in the West and smoked them. Which I guess maybe I should think it was good because this is a 5 seed that is now headed to the NBA Finals after they slapped Minnesota in the face last night. Something else. The NBA Finals have been okay. At the best, they've been okay. So as I laid down last night and I started scrolling around the world of the internet, I found multiple pieces that laid out the start times of SEC and ACC football games when the fall rolls around. I started reading OTA reports from the National Football League. Started reading about what rookies were doing and what first-year head coaches were doing. We got our Hard Knocks selection. It will be the Chicago Bears. Surprising to probably nobody, as the teams were eligible. Is Caleb Williams the most anticipated rookie quarterback of the last decade? Is there more anticipation about Caleb Williams than there were any other quarterback? This is the first team selected since Baker Mayfield and the Browns 60 years ago in 2018 to be featured on this documentary. I don't know why I said it like that.
It was amazing. I'm glad I was here for it.
Is that how British people say it, I wonder? I feel like it has to be, right?
No? Documentary.
Documentary.
Yes.
Why did I say documentary?
It's like dysentery, I guess. I don't know.
Either way, first team to be featured on this documentary since 2018 that has a number one overall quarterback at the helm. I know we're a long time for football, but great one last night. I just started to get the itch a little bit. And I'm excited about this weekend in sports. We've got NCAA baseball championship regionals going down. South Carolina visits the NC State hosted regional up in Raleigh, North Carolina. Wofford is headed up to Chapel Hill, North Carolina to take on LSU later on this afternoon. And then, of course, right down the road in Clemson, South Carolina, we've got a regional this evening hosted by the Clemson Tigers that will also feature the Chanticleers of Coastal Carolina, along with High Point, who is Clemson's first opponent, coming up this evening. I have said, continue to say, and don't have any reason to pick any different. College baseball has the best postseason in all of sports. And I'm going to try to sell you on that later in the show. I'm going to try to get you on board with the knowledge, not belief, not feeling, the knowledge that college baseball has the best postseason in sports. I'm going to give you my entire argument as to why I believe that to be true, and I'll see if I can get y'all to go out of your way to tune into the college baseball playoffs beginning tonight. But where the hell else do we start but what happened last night? Lonzo remains a perfect all of them for all of them in predicting Dallas Mavericks games in this postseason. Effectively, the oracle of the fan upstate is going to win us all $1 million when the NBA finals roll around next Thursday, June 6th for game 1, as he correctly predicted that Dallas would go on the road and get that dub last night.
Lonzo is a superstar.
Hard to argue. 36 from Luka, 36 from Kyrie in a game where Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns scored as many combined points as they did at any point in this series. The game was never close. Never close. I had 3 picks for the score line. I had a bunch of props last night, but I had 3 picks on the score line last night. I went Minnesota on the money line, but I went Dallas Mavericks plus 5.5 because for just a minute yesterday, the line was at 5.5. I went Mavs plus 5.5, but I went Minnesota on the money line because I did think the Timberwolves would win, but I thought it was going to be like a point or two, right? Thought it was going to be a close game. Like Lucas got an opportunity late and misses, or Ant-Man hits a dramatic dunk with a second left. I really did think Minnesota was going to make this a compelling basketball game. They did not. They didn't. And it was so bad. I was texting back and forth with friend of the show, Joey B. Joey B and I got 18 in yesterday afternoon, and then we both went home. We were texting back and forth during the game. And I said, this is wild because I knew Derek Lively coming back was going to change the dynamics of this basketball game. That was something that I had been saying to y'all all week. And I've been saying all week, Dallas plus 5.5 is the pick. But I think Minnesota wins. I think they win by, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, but somewhere in that ballpark. So I got the Dallas plus 5. It effectively wiped out the bet of Minnesota on the money line. But that game didn't go that game or the way that game went because Derek Lively was back. There was a lot more to it than that. And I'll get into the X's and O's of this game. But I want to ask this question out of the gate. Because I had secondhand embarrassment for the Minnesota fans last night. Could you imagine dropping $500, $600, $700 to buy a ticket to go watch your team play a Game 5 at the house against elimination, and that is what they turn in? I had secondhand embarrassment for that team last night. Sincere question. Has your team ever embarrassed you? You ever been embarrassed by your team? I'm not talking about you lost and you go, that sucks. That sucks. Not our best effort, fellas. We didn't really have that in the bag. We weren't really super confident. We didn't play well, whatever. I'm not talking about playing poorly. I'm talking about an effort that you were straight up embarrassed by.
Kansas City losing to the Raiders last year. That was embarrassing. I mean, afterwards we saw what they did. It was a wake-up call for them, but man, I believe it was on Christmas too.
I believe it was. I believe I texted you to ask if they had ruined your Christmas. 31, what was it? No, it was Thanksgiving. It was Thanksgiving.
It was a holiday.
31-17 last year. No, it wasn't. That's a lie. That's a lie. That's the game you guys won. What was the other game last year? Was it? It may have been Christmas. Now I got to find that game. Now I have to go find that game. Is this it? Yep. December 20. It was Christmas Day. 2014 Raiders over the Chiefs in that one. Mahomes went 27 of 44, 235, a touch and a pick. You lost to Aiden O'Connell, who threw for 62 yards with 9 completions. Rushing yards, 157, including 145 from Zamir White, who hilariously did not score in that game. Anyway, that's what I'm talking about. Is there a game where your team embarrassed you? I'm not talking about lost. All right? Every team's going to lose. Nobody goes undefeated anymore. With the exception of college football, nobody goes undefeated. I'm not talking about losing a game. I'm not even really talking about losing a game in the regular season, because we've seen plenty of eventual Super Bowl champions get hammered in the regular season, and you go, it's not great, but, we're not dead. That's one thing. I am talking about like a postseason performance, a bowl performance, whatever. I'm talking about a performance in the limelight that your team just did not show up for. Joey texted the show. He said, I'm a Panthers fan the last 7 years. Texas said, I'm a Mariners and a Blazers fan. I've lived in embarrassment for years. That's the Blazers had a good, decent little effort when Damian Lillard was there. You ran him off. And the Mariners are good now. The Mariners had been hanging around the top or at the top of the American League West all season long. You're top of that division right now. In fact, you were top of that division and clear of the World Series champions by 3 full games. You're in a good spot right now. And also Julio Rodriguez, one of my favorite baseball players on planet Earth. So you got that going for you, which is nice. I'm talking about a performance that maybe like you turned off the TV and you walked away from. A performance that you couldn't stomach it. A performance that, you ever done that thing, great one, where like you're so mad at a team or a TV show or a movie or whatever that all you can do is like sit back in the chair, arms crossed, fume a little bit, and just not talk for a minute?
Yeah, I felt that way after Rogue One. Like, why did I waste my money on this?
And now you make me do it with yet another horrifically bad take about a top 4 Star Wars movie.
If you
top 4.
If you're into not having any hope at all and retconning.
What do you mean retconning?
There's no hope.
It was not retconning.
It was retcon.
How was it retconning? How did Leia get the plans to the Death Star?
It was.
Aboard the emissary ship. How did it get there?
Well, Bothan spies.
Right, who were in Rogue One.
Yeah. They all died.
Yes,
Yeah.
they literally said that in 1977.
Yeah, it's
They set that up. It was on a tee for 40 years.
all right. You're kind of making the point of everything that you're talking about. You're getting angry for no reason. That's how I felt
It's for, it's for a very good reason.
when I wasted my money on that movie.
It's for a very good reason.
You wanted an example. I gave you an example.
It's a bad example.
It's an awful.
example.
It's a bad example for you and a handful of people. It's a good example for me and the majority.
You are absolutely not the majority.
I am the people's champ.
And I know for a fact you are not the majority on this because it is a piece of conversation that whenever that movie comes up, you come up in my personal life.
Well,
Like in my day-to-day away from here when Star Wars comes up, I'm like, can I tell you about the worst take that Lonzo has?
by the way,
They're very few and far
Star
between.
Wars lists happen every May 4th, and it's either near the top or it's at the very bottom. So there are other people who think the way that I do. Okay. And this is the point to bring it back around is when you have that feeling about a game, the people on the other side who just won that game, they have the exact opposite feeling.
Mavericks fans watched that fourth quarter without pants on last night.
Yes.
Mavericks fans were aroused by that game last night. And I don't blame you.
You're missing your chance. I can't believe that you're missing it.
Gummit,
I know.
My loins have been tingling.
right there.
It's early. We'll use that as an excuse.
I'm good with that. It's a struggle bus kind of morning on a Friday. The Mavericks looked so good in that game last night. Rogue One was a great movie. They looked so good in that game last night that I didn't make any bets on the NBA Finals. There's two ways to bet a game, a series. Well, there's really three. There's three ways to bet a game in a series. To bet it as it starts, the minute it starts. You wait for the line to settle, and you're betting it right before tip. There's live betting the game. Live betting the game is where you let a quarter, maybe a half play out. You let the game play out a little bit. You wait till a team goes on a run, and you see how much you can get the spread up to or down to based on your perception on what happens. Or the third way is you bet way out in advance. Like a series that does not start until the 6th of June. And there is a reason for that. I want to talk about that because I heard a bunch of people complaining yesterday. Oh, set it up where we got to wait a week. I'll tell you why. But you can bet the series way far out because Vegas sets lines based on two things. Number one, what they think will happen in the game. And number two, what they think the public will think will happen in the game. Dallas dropped in last night as like a plus 225, 250 underdog to win this series. Boston's like minus 220. They think it's going to be relatively one-sided. Maybe Dallas gets a game, maybe two. So if you think Dallas can get in there and maybe steal this series away from Boston, then if you want to bet it, you want to bet it right now. Or maybe you want to wait to see if the spread goes. Either way, the point here is if you'd have asked me yesterday afternoon, Rob, who you bet in Dallas or Boston? I think most of America would have said, oh, Boston. Boston. As much as I respect Dallas for getting here, and they have absolutely slapped me in the face because I disrespected them the entire ride, I'm picking Boston. The third and fourth quarter of that game last night made me not bet the series. I'm like, let me have a couple of days to think about this. Let me get a couple of days to look at the numbers here because I might be wrong. All right, we'll talk some NBA basketball as the show rolls on, including what happened last night. The Timberwolves explode. Joey Texaso said, horrible example. Lonzo, Rogue One was a phenomenal movie. Best one Disney has made. Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
Your Fab Five speak up.
Correct.
We already knew that was coming.
Rogue One's incredible. Rogue One
horrible
is the Lonzo reading sports flashes of Star Wars movies. That's how good it is.
Yeah, that's we all know how bad I am at that, and that's proof. Can we please go to break? I'm trying here.
Let's go to break. We're trying here on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Prize Picks.
All right, guys, quick live read. I'm coming right back. Stay right there for me.
much as you would think. I think it's
Smoke
more
show or recognizable?
No, I think it's more she knows how to accent things. In this,
Not as much.
well, she's like a nerd wearing flannel, and it's yeah.
Love that. Love that. (124-103) your final last night. The Dallas Mavericks eliminate the Minnesota Timberwolves from the NBA's Western Conference Finals. The Big D, and I do mean Dallas, will be headed to the NBA Finals that start on June 6th, where they will meet up with the Boston Celtics. And listen, as we get closer, we'll jump into some of the storylines because there are some good ones. Kyrie taking on his old team, the Boston Celtics. That one's very interesting. Kristaps Porzingis has been one of the forces in the NBA for years, but has never really made it to the stage where he's been able to display who he has grown into as a basketball player like he will in this series. There's a lot of great storylines from Dallas v. Boston, but let's talk about what happened last night. Let's start with this one. And this might be something that shocks some of you, a realization that I had last night during this game. And Lonzo, I'm going to give this realization because it blew me out of my chair last night when I finally caught on to this. I recognized I was watching the game play out. You know, I know ball. I'm watching and I'm like, how did I never see this before? But I made this realization. Great one. Your knee-jerk reaction to this. Here's the realization I had. Luka Doncic is good at basketball.
You know, it takes some people time to come around to something that maybe they didn't see. And I'm glad you finally are able to see this. Maybe someday you'll see how bad Rogue One is.
It's not going away. You're wrong. You're just wrong about that. Luka Doncic is very good at basketball. And I know that Luka has rubbed some people the wrong way. Really, this postseason, not that this is new.
Why? With what?
The complaining about calls. The constant complaining about calls.
You mean the superstar complaints that all the superstars do?
Yeah, Luka's very demonstrative about it. Right? Like I put Luka in.
Like Steph is not, like LeBron is not, like KD is not. I mean, you can name all those guys and keep going to people who are lower than Luka in as far as talent goes, complaining the same way. I think the emphasis is on him because of how good he's played. So the better you play, the more the camera's on you and the more people see the complaining.
I don't, for the record, don't disagree with any of it. I really don't. Luka Doncic last night
got beat up.
He really did. He got that last night. These whole playoffs, Luka Doncic got beat up. It's like the strategery to take out Luka is to take out Luka.
Karl Anthony Towns was trying.
Karl Anthony Towns, 28 points last night for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
And nearly took Luka's head off.
Luka got JBL'd a couple of times in these playoffs. Like clothesline from held a couple of times in these playoffs. Luka Doncic is a tough son of a biscuit. That's not an argument. You can absolutely say that he rubs you the wrong way because of the complaining about calls. I completely agree with Lonzo, actually, that he is absolutely not the only one that does it. Like, not by a long stretch is he the only one that does it. I would make the argument that he and LeBron are the two most demonstrative when they complain about calls. They are the two most Chris Farley-esque, just very physical in the way that they are demonstrative about wanting foul calls. I would also argue that they're two of the most fouled players in the NBA. It's part of the game. If you can figure out a way to be a scoring threat that walks their way into getting fouled, it's part of the game of basketball. It's part of the game. So, as far as the Mavs went last night, I don't think they did anything special. I think the Mavs last night were a team that probably played the most well-rounded individual basketball game of any team that went out. Luka Doncic scored 10 points 3 minutes into the game. The Wolves, again, had strong efforts from Karl Anthony Towns, had a strong effort from Rudy Gobert. Both of those guys were playing within the rim. But, like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. It was last night a game where if I asked you what could Dallas do better when they get set up against the Celtics, the answer to me is, I don't know. They played well off ball. There was good ball movement. I was worried after the last game because Minnesota made a change in that game by sticking Jaden Daniels over on Kyrie. They switched their defense up. They put a better defender on Kyrie Irving, and they said, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go with the better defender on Kyrie. We're going to throw Jaden McDaniels over there against Kyrie. We're going to let Karl Anthony Towns Anthony Edwards pick up Luka Doncic. We know Luka's going to get some against Ant-Man, but we've got to take Kyrie out of the equation. And in the last game, they took Kyrie out of the equation. And Luka Doncic can go score 36. But if he doesn't have Kyrie putting up 17, 20, 22, it's not going to matter. Last night, it didn't matter what defensive set they ran. And they ran a little bit of everything. They ran a little man. They ran a little zone. They ran a little bit of everything. And none of it mattered because Kyrie was getting his. 14 of 27, 4 of 10 from behind the arc, hit 4 from the stripe. 4 rebounds, 5 assists. And Kyrie, I think, had no turnovers in that game. I don't think Kyrie had a turnover in that game. Last night, Kyrie Irving looked like championship caliber Kyrie Irving. Looked like Kyrie Irving of old. Last night, Kyrie Irving was the Kyrie Irving that Lonzo and I have been openly praising this year. Because he's not out there doing weird podcasts. He's not out there trying to convince you that the world is flat. It's not. He's not out there talking about, burning sage or whatever. He's not conspiracy Irving this year. He's actually put his head down and played basketball. And last night, Luka came out hot at the gate. Kyrie recognized that with Luka putting up 10 in the first 3 minutes of basketball, that they were shaded to Luka Doncic. And he took advantage. It was unbelievable. If you ask me right now, what could Dallas do better when they meet up with Minnesota next Thursday? Lonzo, my answer is, I don't think they can. I don't think there's anything they can do better. And you know me, I'm always a something can be done better guy. I don't think there was from last night. All right, we'll talk some more NBA basketball later in the show. We got to get to some NFL and more. It's Friday. Let's get weird on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
Listen on your phone. Download the Odyssey app and search.
Chuck Sanders, here's the Sports Flash presented by Progressive. The road to the College World Series in Omaha, Nebraska gets one step closer today with the start of college baseball.
Have you seen the Darren Waller music video?
I saw that he put it out. I haven't listened to it yet, though.
It's unbelievably bad, and I love it so much. It's worth the watch for 2 minutes.
Good morning.
Okay. Well, that's
Good night.
all right. I'm trying to figure out what some of this stuff is. And I've lost my yeehaws. You should be happy. I have no idea where my yeehaws are. I don't know where I put them at. I'm so very disappointed. Found the yeehaw. Oh, I had already put that one up there, but I don't have the crazy one. Oh, wow. Where the heck is Bill Brooks? Where's Billy at? You leave early so he could get his weekend on.
Danica Patrick is a moon landing denier.
No.
Yeah. What? Danica Patrick just acknowledged that she believes that we faked the moon landing.
Oh dear. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
So is like Dan Aykroyd. I mean, there's some people out there.
Aykroyd's a denier?
Oh yeah.
Really?
He's big time conspiracy theorist.
Huh. Okay, wait a minute. I gotta find that.
TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the
There's a-
IRS.
there's a-
You have
never mind.
over 1,000 5-star
This-
reviews.
Last study claims that 7% of Americans believe we faked the moon landing, which is honestly lower than I thought it would have been. Maybe it's just that the people that do think we faked it are the ones that we laugh at and pay attention to. So it sounds like there's more of them.
I'm curious about what the demographic is as far as the people who don't believe it. Are they older people who don't believe? I know Danica's younger, but still.
Danica's got to be what, her mid-40s?
Yeah, she's probably early to mid-40s.
She's 42.
You know, Aykroyd's 60s at least, maybe 70s. So
You know what? That's really interesting. I actually have never really considered if there's like a primary demographic of
like people who were alive when it happened.
Yeah.
More so.
I almost wonder if it skews younger. Not younger, but like 40s, 30s, 40s. You know what I mean? So during the break, I got some interesting information. It turns out, apparently, Danica Patrick is a moon landing denier and acknowledged it. Shockingly, it was on the Joe Rogan podcast. But apparently, Danica Patrick has acknowledged that she believes the moon landing was faked. I don't have any more to add to that. This isn't a segment I'm doing. I'm not doing a shtick about it. I just learned that information and felt compelled to share it with you. Danica Patrick believes we faked the moon landing. I also learned during the break, because once I learned that information, I allowed my ADHD brain to become completely and entirely hyperfixated on that information. And then went and learned that recent studies and surveys say that roughly 7% of Americans believe the moon landing was faked, which is, if I'm being honest, actually less than I thought. I figured it was going to be like 12, 13, maybe tops 15% of Americans believed that the moon landing was faked. Apparently, last survey, it sits around 7%. And my assumption was that it is just that the people who deny it are hilarious, so we put them on the internet, so it just feels like there's a lot more of them than there are.
Which radio station in the building would you think has the most people who would deny it as listeners?
As listeners.
Yes. I have my theory.
I have my theory too, and I don't think you're going to like it.
Yeah, because your theory is biased. I'm going to go with
Okay, your theory's biased.
Classic Rock 101.
That actually would have been my second guess.
Because that the demographic there, leftover hippies, 70s, 80s. I think the people who denied it the most were around when it happened, and they told their kids, and their kids believed their mom and their diddy.
I hate that word.
Yeah, me too. That's why I say
I don't know why it grates on me so much.
Except for Mike Venditti.
I love Diddy. I just hate Diddy.
But if your dad is a Diddy,
yeah,
I just
there's no I in that
Justin,
word.
Is your dad a Diddy?
No,
I don't know.
Because
I don't know. He's worried he's going to be,
It's dad. It's dad. You say daddy, I'm good with daddy. You can call your dad your daddy. I don't care at all, but it's an A, not an I. I can spell the word for you right now.
Yeah, I'm okay with father. I mean, that's what my daughter calls me.
Yes, Faja.
Yes, we are she calls me father and I call her daughter. But anyway, it's a joke. I don't know where it came from. Exactly. But yeah, the Diddy thing. When I first moved here 27 years ago, I really had some problems with that, trying to figure out what the heck they were saying.
I've got she can't hear me right now because she is partying on her bachelorette party. I've got her to stop it. It is my crowning achievement in our 4-year relationship.
At least around you.
Around me.
Yeah.
Around me. I don't know if she still does it when it's just the two of them, but I have gotten her to stop saying that. And we're straight up honest with her. I want you to know I hate it. It destroys me as a person every time you say Diddy.
My daughter will only do it if she's doing a Southern accent. Hi, Diddy.
Or just trying to aggravate you.
No, it's
Respectable.
It's hilarious when she does it, but she's doing it sarcastically. I don't know where she got it from.
Mine is from Anderson, South Carolina. So it was we're gonna get in the car. I gotta call my Diddy real quick. I'm like, no. I do not accept. All right. So now we have talked about the moon
and
landings.
what's the problems that Diddy have had lately? Do you really want to use that name anymore? I mean, is this another way to get him to stop?
Texas said 7% is shockingly low. I agree. It is shockingly low. Again, I think what happens with the internet.
You never said your station, although we all know what you're going to say.
I think what happens on the internet is that the crazy people get amplified. Because if somebody says, yes, we obviously landed on the moon, right? Like that's the overwhelmingly popular take. So if I go on the internet and I say, I believe the moon landing happened, I believe the Apollo mission was legitimate, then there's no point in retweeting me. There's no point in adding me. But if I go on the internet and I say the moon landing was fake, then a Hollywood movie studio, then you got 1,000 people across the internet who want to dunk and debunk me. And so they get amplified. And I think that's all it is. It's just the amplification of the outliers of society that we hear the most from, right? This is why every single day in America, 100,000 planes take off and land safely. But when something goes wrong on one, it's the number one news story in the world. It's like, yo, there's a 0.0000001% chance that you ever experience. And I'm not even talking a crash. I'm talking like a minor emergency on an airplane, like a 0.0000001% chance. You are safer in an airplane than you are driving 20 minutes in a car in any direction. But when one thing goes wrong, it's the only thing that gets to the TV, right? So I think that's it. I think that's it. Texas says, I side with it being fake just so the USA beat the Soviets in the moon race. What if I told you we just beat them? What if I told you we just beat them? What if I told you we just did that thing? As opposed to we faked that thing when we just did the thing.
Yeah,
what if I told you?
Why do we have to fake it? I mean, it's better to go, hey, we just planted our flag. Look at that.
Yeah.
What you got, Russia?
Yeah. You want to ban us for I'm a real American?
Yeah. You can go ahead and ban us for talking about the American flag and how we beat your butts to the moon. How about that, Russia?
Boston Celtics Open is a heavy betting favorite over the Dallas Mavericks in the initial line set for the 2024 NBA Finals. The Celtics Open is a minus 225 favorites. The Mavs listed as as plus 185 underdogs to open up this series. The C's Open is a 6-point favorite over the Mavericks in Game 1, which again is June 6th in Boston. Jason Tatum, the betting favorite for Finals MVP at minus 130. Luka Doncic is 2-1. Jaylen Brown 6-1. Kyrie Irving at 24-1 for the NBA Finals MVP. The Mavs began the season as 25-1 long shots to win the title. Those odds shrank to around 50-1 back in January, but Dallas obviously had a phenomenal upgrade around the trade deadline. Their number sank after the trade deadline, and now it is obviously all the way down at plus 185. That game last night, said this a little bit in the last segment. We'll talk a little bit about it now, and then we will get away from basketball in hour number 2. Water cooler cheat sheet out of the gate at 7 a.m. That game last night, if you ask me what Dallas could do better from last night in order to beat Boston, the answer is I don't know. I don't think there is anything. I think they successfully attacked Rudy Gobert in a way that kept him moving throughout the game. They never really let him get the feet and get comfortable. Obviously, it is going to have to be a bit of a different plan because Kristaps Porzingis is a dramatically better offensive player than Rudy Gobert. However, Rudy Gobert is a dramatically better defensive player than Kristaps Porzingis is. The security blanket for the Mavs has been, how many times have I hammered this point home over and over and over again? But I do so because it's true. The success for the Dallas Mavericks originates from the 5. I know we want to say it's Luka. I know we want to say it's Kyrie. And obviously, as was demonstrated between Game 4 and Game 5, yeah, you got to have both those guys scoring buckets for sure. But the strength of the Mavericks is at the 5. The strength of the Mavericks is the ability to send in Daniel Gafford, get 4, 5, 6 minutes of real tough basketball, flip him out, bring in Derek Lively, get 4, 5, 6 points of real tough basketball, flip him back out, bring back in Gafford, and go back and forth and back and forth. In fact, last night, Derek Lively took another JBL clothesline to the back of the noggin, and he went down for a minute. And when he went down, that game was not over at that point. I mean, at that point, Minnesota was down like 20. But how many 20-point leads have we seen erased in these NBA playoffs so far? Happened to the Lakers multiple times. I think didn't it happen to New York at one point or Indiana? We have had multiple spots where 20-point leads have been erased in a single game. So when Derek Lively went down taking the JBL shot to the back of the head, I immediately was like, uh-oh, they're in trouble. They're in trouble, right? Because now it's Gafford by himself, and Rudy Gobert is actually playing a pretty respectable basketball game right now, offensively and defensively. He was involved on both ends of the floor. So I'm looking at Derek Lively going down, and I'm thinking the door's open for Minnesota right now. The door is open with Minnesota because if Gafford can get wore out, I'm talking Rudy Gobert needs to have the game of his life offensively, and he needs to wear out Daniel Gafford. Then there comes a window somewhere in the fourth quarter. There comes a window where Gafford's got to sit to catch a breath. He's got to go get the old oxygen tank turned on. And then that's where Rudy Gobert and the T-Wolves need to hit the afterburner, full speed ahead. And chip that lead down, chip it down, so that hopefully before Gafford comes back in, you got it back down to single digits. And then I need Ant-Man to take over late. But nope. Derek Lively checked out for a minute, ended up coming right back into the game, decided to big stones his way through the fourth quarter. They went back to alternating guys back and forth. Minnesota was never able to get anything going. And on top of that, it's the other spot. Minnesota shot 42% last night from the floor. 31%, just over 31% from behind the arc, 10 of 32 from three land, and 38 of 89 from the floor. Now, a handful of those misses came late in the game with a buck and some change left when they went to the reserves, when they went to the backup guys. Lonzo, can I tell you what the definition of pain is, by the way? Can I tell you what pain is for me? I put together a 6-leg 750-1 parlay last night. Parlay, for those of you who are not into the gambling terms. Parlay is when you put together multiple bets and they all have to hit, but it increases the odds. Here's what I had last night. You ready? Luka Doncic of the Mavs over 30.5 points. Hit. PJ Washington over 1.5 3-point field goals. Hit. Luka Doncic 8 or more total rebounds against the Timberwolves. Hit. Karl-Anthony Towns over 27.5 points. Hit. Naz Reid of the Minnesota Timberwolves over 4 rebounds. Hit. And Anthony Edwards over 6.5 assists. You know how many he had last night?
I'm going to guess 6.
6. Not only did he have 6, but from about 4 minutes until about 2 minutes left in that game, Anthony Edwards was still in the game. Anthony Edwards was still driving and kicking. Anthony Edwards had 5 assist possibilities, and the Timberwolves went 0 for 5. Any one of those 5 hit, and I hit a plus 750 parlay last night. Infuriating. Gah. I was so mad. I was so mad. I texted Keegan bad words. Like, you got to be bleeping kidding me, dude.
Is that you act like that's not a normal thing?
I mean, I do it anyway, but last night I actually meant him. Right? Anyway, Lively and Gafford against Porzingis. Porzingis is going to outscore the combined efforts of Lively and Gafford in any game that Boston wins in the finals. My question is on the flip side. My question is, can Porzingis have a game when Joe Mazzulla can't massage when and when not Porzingis is in there against the best that you would have defensively for the Mavs? There's no point. There's 48 minutes where there's a 7-foot rim protector down low. I slammed on this fact during the Mavs Wolves series. That is what won them that series. Luka going out there and getting you 30 every game. Kyrie popping up and getting you 22 plus the games that you won. Those are all critical factors. I am not pulling away from that. All critical factors. But what won you that game, what won you that series, was the fact that at no point in 48 minutes of any of the 4 wins for the Mavs, at no point was there a free run to the basket for the Minnesota Timberwolves. You had to get by the defender that was on you, and then you had to play through a 7-footer on the back end. Can the Celtics do that? And I'm going to add on top of that, and this is the narrative right now. I don't know if the narrative, scratch that. The narrative's fair. Draymond Green disagrees, but the narrative is fair. The Celtics have not been pushed in these playoffs so far. The Celtics have not been pushed in these playoffs. You go back to round number 1, the Celtics got the Miami Heat. No Jimmy Butler. Playoff Jimmy. It's the only reason the Heat were in the playoffs. It's the only chance they had at making it through the playoffs. No Jimmy Butler. Then they go to round 2. They win series 1 4-1. They go to round 2. They got the Cavaliers out of Cleveland. Cleveland takes one of the first couple. Then what happens? Donovan Mitchell goes down. Best player on Cleveland. Again, only reason that Cleveland is there is a 4 seed. Donovan Mitchell. Spida goes down. And just like that, Boston wins 4-1 in that series. Then they get the Pacers. What happens in that series? You got two tough games out of the gate, and then Tyrese Halliburton goes down. Best player on the Pacers. Only reason that they're there. Halliburton goes down, and they win that series 4-0. Boston has had a Powerball ticket in these playoffs because every series that they have played so far featured not the best player on the other team. No Jimmy B in round 1, no Spida round 2, no Ty in round 3. Boston all the way to the finals. So you got Boston going through this playoff bracket, not playing more than 4 games against the best that the other teams had to offer talent-wise. Then they get to the championship. They are going to have 9 days of rest in this championship. 9 days, and Porzingis has not played since the start of the playoffs. So my question for y'all is, and we're going to get away from basketball in hour number 2, talk some football. But my question for you here is, with 9 days of rest, with having played a combined 4 games out of, 14? 3 series with 4 wins and then 2 losses, so 14 games total. In 14 games, 4 of them did they play the other team's best player. 2 from Spida, 2 from Tyrese. So, with 9 days of rest, with Kristaps Porzingis not having played in 4 weeks by the time this starts, and the fact that Boston played 4 out of 14 games with the best the opponent could line up against them versus Dallas, who's going to have 6 days of rest, so less rust on them. Nobody is hurt. They're fully healthy, and they have been battle-tested in these playoffs. I'm having a hard time, Zoe, talking myself. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to wait a couple of days just to kind of let the newness of what happened last night wear off. I'm kind of hard-pressed not to put a Mavs bet down to win these NBA Finals.
Hey, why not? You're not getting anything from me yet.
I was really hoping you were going to feed the baby bird right
Yeah,
there.
we got time.
Fair enough. We do have a week. We'll see how it plays out. Bam Bam from Boiling Springs text the show, said, Rob, calling it now, Dallas in 6. All right? So the Rob Brown Armada leaning the direction of the Mavs by one listener. I lean into the sports. That sucked. Sports Flash. Oh, I'm bad at this.
Yeah, if you leaned in, I'd move and watch you fall and laugh. Get up off the ground. The Braves dropped 3 out of 4 at home against the Nationals after a 3-1 defeat yesterday. Ray Kerr got to start for Atlanta and went just 3.2 innings, giving up 5 hits and 3 earned runs before being relieved. Atlanta's offense continues to struggle, producing just 5 hits, including a pair from Marcell Ozuna and Ozzie Albies. And the Braves stranded 7 on base. Atlanta starts a 3-game set against the A's at home today. The NFL has selected the Chicago Bears, also known as the Chicago Bears, to be featured on this year's edition of Hard Knocks. This will be the first time Chicago has been featured on the show, which has run since 2001. Hey, check out our new afternoon show from 3 to 7 p.m. It is Wire to Wire. Cole Bryson and Diesel get you up to date on the latest local and national sports news. Great guests, great debate, and a whole lot of fun. That's all Wire to Wire. I seriously doubt it's a dumb question.
Traffic live or recorded?
It's live.
Oh,
It can. Well, no, it's recorded and sent in
okay.
like just a few seconds ago.
That's what I was wondering. If it was like they heard the cue and
No.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. That's what I was wondering. I was leaning that way. I just, wasn't-
You can access traffic cams from anywhere. So that's what they're doing.
Bless it. Speaking of the A's, last night is what.
Don't do a baseball thing, dude. I'm telling you. No baseball for me. I'm not being mean.
No, it's not about that.
Oh, okay.
It was about something that happened. What people will call an announcer jinx.
Mhm.
They have a new announcer for their TV broadcast.
Mhm.
It was a female, Jenny Kavnar. And I've seen a lot of criticism on the interwebs. I don't partake because it's not my place. And she had a good line. Just the timing was not very good. Because she's like, oh, such and such pitcher is trying to get payback on the Rays. As soon as she says that, boom, gives up the game tying home run. And I'm just like, man, that sucks.
That happens to just about every announcer, though, in every sport.
Yeah. And it was there. They have a guy on the team who went to Gardner Webb. You may have heard of the name Mason Miller.
I haven't, but again, not a baseball guy. Not going to hide it. Not going to pretend that I'm just not a baseball guy.
So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of
The
hand.
dude throws
He
gas.
knows Granger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Granger.com or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Yeah, I've always called my dad, Dad, Daddy, or every once in a blue moon, Pop. To answer your question from earlier.
I don't know. You were hesitant.
No, you said Diddy, and I'm like, I've never called him that. It took me a second to like. I think it took me a second to like fire off an answer slower than what I should have. I've been raised here my whole life. I've never called my dad that. Diddy.
I don't know. It was awful fluid coming off your tongue right there.
I've never called him that.
Made it sound like it's a natural thing for you. I'm just saying.
I normally go with dad.
Call your dad whatever you want to. Just call him because Father's Day is coming up.
What's up, Steve?
And off we go into hour number 2, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you. Here's how you get in touch with the radio broadcast this morning, because we are about to talk some football coming up here in just a few minutes. The renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone is on and open. 844-FANFONE. That's 844-326-3663. 844-326-3663. The text line is open and available at 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we will read them on the air. You can tweet me at The Rob Brown Show. At The Rob Brown Show, you can tweet Lonzo at Lonzo on Word, W-O-R-D, and you can tweet everybody in the station at The Fan Upstate. At The Fan Upstate, if you want to get at us in that direction, we would love to have you on the show today. It is, ladies and gentlemen, 7:01 in the morning. You are 58 minutes and 18 seconds away from getting clocked in at work today. And once you get clocked in at work, you gotta do the early stuff, right? You got to make sure that the boss's emails are returned. You got to check God, I hate checking voicemails. Who leaves a voicemail? It's 2024. Drop an email, send a text, or leave me alone. Okay? Real simple. But you got to check those voicemails. Make sure you return that big important call from that one client. You know the one I'm talking about, the one the boss has been beating you up about for a little while. And then once you've done all those things, here's what you do. You walk down the hall. You go get Jack from sales. Jack's down there. He's working hard too, man. He needs a break. You both need a break. So you walk down. Hey, Jack, what do you say we head over to the water cooler, talk some sports? You know Jack's going to be like, yeah, absolutely. Let's do that. So you and Jack, you walk down the hallway, you head down to the water cooler, you post up in a spot that the boss can't see you when he comes down to get his coffee, when he gets in, because he gets in late every day. What a jerk, right? You better be here on time. And then he shows up 10 minutes late every day. Anyway, you and Jack are going to talk sports. And if you're going to talk sports, you got to know what's going on. And if you need to know what's going on, you need this.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
It is the water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports with your coworkers this morning. This is what the conversation will be about. Let us dive right in with item number 1. Item number 1 will remain for at least another couple of weeks, your playoffs update from the eve before. We start with the NHL. Last night over in the Eastern Conference Finals, dramatically more entertaining than the NBA Finals were, at least at the conference level. Florida Panthers now up on top of the New York Rangers with a 3-2 series lead after they won last night's Game 5 with the same scoreline. 3-2 was your final there. Chris Kreider for New York got the scoring started just 2 minutes into the second period with a shorty. And the assist from Mika Zibanejad, his 12th of the season, Kreider's 8th goal of the postseason so far. That put the Rangers up 1, but Gustav Forsling, about 6 minutes later, drew the Cats back level. His 4th playoff goal caught the helper from Sam Bennett. That made it 1-1. Then we got to the third, and it was all Florida. 10 minutes in, Anton Lundell was able to get the slap shot in his 3rd goal of the postseason, gave the Panthers a lead they would not relinquish. Sam Bennett was able to hit an empty netter with inside of 2 minutes left to play to extend the lead to a pair 3-1. Alexis Lafreniere, with 50 seconds left to go in the game, did net one more for the Rangers, but it was too little, too late for New York, who is now headed back to Sunrise, Florida for Game 6. However, they head back for a Game 6 in which their backs are against the wall. They head back for a Game 6 in which they now face elimination and must win 2 straight. The good news is if they can win on the road at Florida, they will have a Game 7 back in New York. But the Panthers have been playing good hockey at the house. New York's already won in Sunrise, however, so nothing is a guarantee as of right now. That game will take place coming up Saturday evening at 8 p.m. 3-2, Florida leads the New York Rangers. Game number 5 of the Western Conference Finals, a Western Conference Finals that is all square at a deuce apiece between Edmonton and Dallas. We'll see the puck drop this evening at 8:30 on TNT. That game emanating from the Lone Star State. Over in the association, the Western Conference Finals is done. It took 5 games, 1 game longer than it took Boston to put away Indiana, but the Dallas Mavericks finish off the Minnesota Timberwolves last night, 4-1. You got 36 points on 14 of 22 for Luka Doncic. Also went 6 of 10 from behind the arc. Had 10 boards and 5 assists. The double-double was plus 22 in the plus-minus category. 36 also recorded by Kyrie Irving, his on 14 of 27 from the floor. That included 4 of 10 from behind the arc. Kyrie also chipped in 4 boards, 5 assists as well. 12 for PJ Washington, 11 for Daniel Gafford. And, that's it. Timberwolves had 28 from both Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns. It was the highest combined point total of the 2 superstars in this entire series, but they got nothing else from nobody else. No other Timberwolf was in the double digits last night. 8 for McDaniels, 9 for Gobert, 7 from Conley. You had no more than 7 from any player off the bench. That was from Kyle Anderson. Listen to the statistics here for bench players. 0 for 2 from the floor, 3 of 9, 3 of 3, 2 of 10, 0 for 3, 0 for 2, 2 for 3. The 3 of 3 and the 2 of 3 were both guys who played for 3 minutes at the end of the game when the game was already over. Awful. The Minnesota Timberwolves bench last night, what should have happened is they should have put the Timberwolves bench on a flight to Dallas where Game 6 would have happened, and then flown the plane back but left them there and made them walk back because they were atrocious last night. Minnesota shot 43% from the floor. Dallas shot 55%, including 44% from behind the arc, 15 of 34 shooting from deep. They knocked down 17 free throws in the effort. And now Dallas moves on to the NBA Finals, where they will take on the Boston Celtics. Game 1 of that series will take place a week from yesterday evening. Boston, big-time favorites to open. They are minus 225 to win the NBA Finals. Dallas is plus 185 to upset Boston in said NBA Finals. Let us move on to item number 2. I make this loss of the Atlanta Braves 3-1 to the Washington Nationals last night an item on the water cooler cheat sheet, not because the Braves lost 3-1. It's baseball. You're going to lose games. You're going to lose games to bad teams. That's how baseball works. 3-1, the Bravos fall to the Nationals. The reason that I make it an item on the water cooler cheat sheet is because the Braves have just dropped 3 out of 4 to the Washington Nationals. Not the Dodgers, not the Phillies, not the Twins, not the Brewers, not the Cubbies. They dropped 3 out of 4 to the Nationals, who are still, despite taking 3 out of 4 from Atlanta, in Atlanta, by the way. This is not on the road. This isn't up in D.C., which is Truist Park North, if we're being honest. This is not up in D.C. This was at home. The Braves dropped 3 out of 4 last night because this offense stinks. Lonzo, I make this an item on the water cooler cheat sheet because I have flirted with it so far this season. I have teased it so far this season, but I'm going to today emphatically push the out of the big red panic button for the Atlanta Braves. They're not good at baseball right now. But wait, Rob Brown, they're 31-23. as it stands. Yeah, no, I know. I know. But wait a minute, Rob Brown. They are second in the division. Oh, I am aware. But wait a minute, Ron Brown. They would be no worse than second place in every division in the National League, and they would be no worse than second place in every division in Major League Baseball. Oh, I am aware, but alarm. No! Alarm. Oh, it's atrocious, dude. The Braves last night in a 3-1 defeat were able to come up with a grand total of 5 hits. Ozuna, the only guy on the offense that is hitting the ball right now. He is the only player in this lineup with a batting average that is over 300. He's batting 312 right now. He had a couple. Ozzy Albies had a couple. You had one from Kelenic. Michael Harris II, 0 for 3. Austin Riley, 0 for 4. Matt Olson, 0 for 3. Orlando Arcia, 0 for 3. Sean Murphy, 0 for 4. Adam Duvall, 0 for 4. Let me do this for you. Of the team that played last night, which, by the way, with the exception of Ronald Acuna Jr., this is the starting 9 for the Atlanta Braves. This is the best this lineup can be. Here's the batting averages for this baseball team. Money Mike's at 255. Austin Riley, a guy that I spent this offseason saying, don't be surprised if he's a dark horse for NL MVP. Don't be surprised if Austin Riley's name's in the hat. Not that he'll win it, but his name's in the hat. 227. Ozuna's 312. Matt Olson, you remember that guy that led Major League Baseball in home runs and RBIs last year? Matt Olson's batting 234. Ozzy Albies is batting 283. Orlando Arcia, 236. Sean Murphy. Remember that guy when Sean Murphy was hurt and everybody was like, oh, when they get Sean Murphy back? You know, because Travis d'Arnaud is good, but he ain't it. Chadwick Trump is good, but he ain't it. Remember when we were all waiting for Sean Murphy because when Sean Murphy got back, we were going to the moon? Sean Murphy's batting 143 right now. Adam Duvall gets brought back to Atlanta during the offseason. Everybody's like, oh, hell yeah, add him back into the platoon, right? Like, he's going to be a dude for this team. He's batting 196. And Jared Kelenic is batting 258. This offense stinks. And this offense doesn't stink like, oh, they're in a slump. Oh, no. This offense is bad. It is no longer I asked Cody Decker. He joined us on, what was it, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day it was. I asked Deck, I said, yo, is Atlanta a good team playing bad or is it a bad team? And he said, it's a good team playing bad. Too much talent. And here's the thing. On paper, too much talent. You're returning 6 just position players, 6 all-stars from last year's all-star team. Right now, you're sending 1. Marcell Ozuna is the only guy. Non-pitchers. Because Max Fried's an all-star right now. I'd say Chris Sale's probably an all-star right now. Of your position players, scratch that. You're sending 0 position players. Marcell Ozuna is a DH. The Braves have 0 position players that are all-star caliber right now. Again, one more time, just in case any of you were confused. The Braves stink. We're officially bad.
You must chill.
We're officially bad.
You must chill.
It's not going to happen. We are now, Lonzo, 54 games deep in the season. This is no longer, it's early. This is no longer offenses got to find their rhythm. This is no longer, you got to give them some time to gel. This is a team that was together last year. This is not like a team of all new dudes trying to figure each other out. They have played 54 baseball games. And yes, I'm aware they've won 31 of them. And that's great. Can I be straight up with you? I got no idea how this team's won 31 games. I have no idea how this team has won 31 baseball games. The team that played last night should be where the Nats are at like 26 and 29. It's pathetic. It's bad. And I'm at the point now where, and this is going to be my hot take of the day.
It's getting hot in here.
Brian Snitker's a problem. A manager that has won you a World Series is a problem at this point because I look during these games, I glance over at Snit in the dugout, and he does nothing. He does nothing. I am genuinely at this point trying to figure out what is Brian Snitker doing. I honestly, I think Brian Snitker is in this spot. I think he is in this spot where he is a fan. I think he's a fan. I think he looks at this offense and he is saying what Decker said earlier in the week. Oh, Rob, you gotta give him some time. This team's got too much talent to be bad. You got to give them some time. I've given you 54 baseball games. This is not new. 54 games in, and this offense stinks. And Brian Snitker is doing nothing about it.
They're not even halfway through yet. Come on, man.
Dude, they are 6.5 games behind a team that they were consensus picked to put in the rearview mirror by like a lot of games, by like 10, 15 games. 6.5 back. At this point, ordinarily, like there's some seasons where you don't look really good in the first half. And then you're like, that's fine. You turn it around. Like a lot of teams get hot after the All-Star break. Somebody give me any optimism. Somebody give me any optimism right now. Just anything that's going right you can lean on. That's not Max Fried or Chris Sale. 2 pitchers, which means you're giving me 2 games out of every 10 where I can trust the rotation. 2 games out of 10, I can go, well, we got a chance because Fried and Sale are up there. But I don't care if you've got friggin' Randy Johnson in his prime up there. If your offense is going to manage 5 hits against the 4th best pitcher on the 3rd best team in an average division, the NL East, what's it matter? If you're going to get 5 hits in that game, what's it matter? And finally, very quickly, item number 3. I kind of threw Lonzo. That's on me. The NCAA and a coalition of states suing the organization announced a proposed settlement of a lawsuit Thursday that would allow athletes to be immediately eligible to play no matter how many times they transfer, and would offer some who were sidelined an extra year of eligibility. Under the proposed agreement, a preliminary injunction issued by a federal judge in West Virginia allowing multiple transfer athletes to compete would be made permanent. Judge John Preston Bailey would still have to sign off on the pact. The agreement comes a month after the NCAA Division I Council fast-tracked legislation that was ratified by the D1 Board of Directors to fall in line with Bailey's preliminary injunction. Blah, blah, blah. Long story short. A couple of months ago, when this lawsuit came through and when this first order was issued, the NCAA said you can transfer as many times as you want. And as of right now, we're going to let you play. Doesn't matter where you go, we're going to let you play. Doesn't matter how many times you've transferred, going to let you play. But the thought was that at some point, it was possible that this lawsuit would ultimately go a different direction. It was possible that the NCAA may go back to saying, all right, you got 1 transfer, or maybe they reached an agreement where you could transfer 2 or 3 times. Nope. Now it appears that athletes may transfer as often as they like, and they may play immediately when they do. And if you were an athlete who has lost a year of eligibility because you transferred a second time and had to sit for a year, the NCAA is going to give you that year of eligibility back. So the transfer portal is now what, Lonzo?
That would be free agency, Rob.
There you have it. Like it, dislike it, let me know. 844-326-3663. Text me 71307. Got a handful of text so far, and I'm going to respond to them when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
New life.
All right, guys, one more live reading. We're coming back. Y'all stay right there. program show continues. It is the fan of stage. Rob Rapp with the great one, Alonzo, with you. Keegan said the last time McKinney tore up his knee, y'all won the World Series. Maybe it'll happen again. The last time McKinney tore up his knees, the Braves did win the World Series. The Braves were also like okay that year, and they do have a record right now that is okay. But dude, like, watch this team. Honestly, watch this team. This team has zero confidence at the dish. This team has exactly and precisely like no chemistry with each other. It's a hard watch. You have got right now Max Fried pitching well. You've got Chris Sale pitching well. And what else? You drop 3 out of the 4 at home against the Nats. You drop 2 out of the 3 against the Pirates. You drop 2 out of the 3 against the Padres. The only teams that you have won series against since the beginning of May is the Mets, who are atrocious right now. Like, when I was growing up, there was the old phrase of at least we're not Alabama as a state.
Wait, did they really say that?
As a state, not like the school.
Okay, because that's all right.
Yeah, you're like, at least we're not Alabama as a state. Like we're bad, but at least we're not Alabama. That's how I feel about the Mets right now. The Mets are the state of Alabama of Major League Baseball. The Mets are trash. They're atrocious. So you beat them. Congrats, I guess. And you beat the Cubs. In fairness, taking 4 out of 6 against the Cubs, 2 out of the 3 at home, 2 out of the 3 at Wrigley. That's like the only thing the Bravos can stand on right now in this entire month. That's it. That's it. That's all you got. So I don't know what to tell you. Texas said, Rob, what's your answer for Atlanta right now? What does Snitker do? Start trying things, I guess, is my issue. Like, I know one of the oldest cliches, one of the most leaned on cliches in sports is, or really the most leaned on cliche in life is what? If you keep doing the same thing and expecting different results, that's the definition of insanity. Usually attributed to Albert Einstein. I'll be real.
I think it's an Einstein thing. Yeah.
I don't know if he said it or not. I don't care. It's a fair cliche. Why? What are we doing? I mean, listen, there is one thing that I can hang on right now. One thing, which is the MVP is Alex Anthopoulos, general manager of the decade. Alex Anthopoulos won that World Series a couple of years back with the moves that he made, the Jorge Soler move, the move to bring in Jock Peterson. Like, he's the reason that team won a World Series that year. Those trade deadline moves were phenomenal. And he might do the same thing again this year. And I'll even go one step further. Here, instead of saying, I'll try to be optimistic for a minute. Here's the optimism. The optimism is, in baseball, the trade deadline is usually more active. And the trade deadline is usually more active in baseball because there are a lot of teams as we get towards the All-Star break that decide we're not doing anything this year. We want to go ahead and start stocking for the future. Like in football, this is usually an off-season thing, right? Teams either come into the year knowing we're not going to be very good, or they think they're going to be good. They end up stinking, and then they blow it up in the offseason. In baseball, there are plenty of teams that decide halfway through the year, all right, we stink. We're going to sell off our guys. We're going to get as much as we can in terms of resources and assets for the future. And so if you're Atlanta, I think you're waiting to see which of those teams you're going to be talking about. And I'm looking up and down the standings right now to see who might be a seller. I think Tampa Bay is going to be a seller. They're a game under 500. They are 10.5 out from the Yankees. They are 8.5 out from Baltimore. The Red Sox and the Jays, all 10.5 or more back in the East. All thought they were going to be, everybody in the East thought they were going to be competitive this year. Maybe the Red Sox were the exception. But everybody in that division thought they were going to be contenders this year, or at least compete for that division. We all knew it was going to be either New York or Baltimore. But Tampa Bay is a team that's won 100 games with the exception of last year, more in the past 7 years than anybody else. The Blue Jays, same thing. Shiny new toy every year in the AL East. Thought they were going to be good. Is there a Vlad Guerrero Jr. that's available to bring down and play for half of a season? I look across the AL Central. The White Sox. I don't know if they got anybody that's worth moving for. They kind of stripped that organization during the offseason, but they'll be sellers. The Tigers are 500 out of Detroit, but they're 9 games back of the Guardians. The Twins are 6 back. They'll probably try to stay contenders. The Royals are actually really good, 35-23, better than Atlanta right now. Over in the West, the Angels are trash. They're real bad. Is there a potential? And it would take the world, but where are the Braves struggling more than anywhere else right now? In the outfield. That's actually not entirely true. From the dish, Kelenic is one of the few guys that are up over 250 right now. But maybe you make a whole move to go get a Mike Trout. Hey, man, listen, you want to get the hell up out of L.A.? Would you like the chance to play in the postseason? Come to Atlanta for a half season. I know it's a dream. It's a pipe dream. But who knows, right? Give the A's half of your farm system for a sign and trade with Mike Trout. The Athletics already kind of blew it up. What about the Astros? Astros are 5.5 back in the West, but they are 7 games under 500 right now. Could the Astros be willing to make a move? Over in the National League, I don't know that anybody in your division is going to trade to make you better, but is there anybody that plays for the Mets that maybe you could get out of there? There are some guys there, McNeil, Pete Alonso, guys that may call it a career with the Mets at the end of this year. Might they be willing to come down to the ATL, get a chance to play in the postseason? I'll tell you what, I will forgive you being a New York Met if you come to Atlanta and help out. I'm willing to do that for you. What about over in the Central? Pirates were expected to be good. They're 4 games below 500, but they're 7 back in the Central. And despite the fact that I thought the Pirates were going to be at least okay this year, I don't really see Pittsburgh making a run back up at Milwaukee. Cincinnati, they're 8 games below 500. And then in the West, the Rockies are trash. Is there anybody in Colorado? Anybody in Arizona? That team's 6 games back, 10 out of the division. That's a team that was in the World Series last year. Also made a big run after the All-Star break. And that's the other part of this is there are going to be some teams similar to the Bravos. There are going to be some teams similar to Atlanta that don't look great, but are going to be in the same boat as the Bravos looking to make a move. So the question is, what does AA do in that spot? But to circle back around and say, what do you do if you're Brian Snicker? I don't know. I'm going to start benching guys. Honestly, I'm going to start benching guys. I'm going to start tinkering with the lineup. I'm going to start moving guys around. I'm going to start platooning guys off the bench. I'm going to see if maybe I can find a spark somewhere. Maybe you got a guy. And again, I don't know who that guy's going to be. I don't know if with some consistency and a belief that he's gonna be that dude, maybe you throw out I don't know, maybe you throw out a Luke Williams and see if maybe he's the spark off the bench. I don't know what the answer is. But what I do know is if the Braves are gonna keep doing this crap, if the Braves are going to keep doing this crap, if the Braves are just going to trot this same lineup out there and be happy to get 5-6 hits against one of the Nationals' back-end pitchers, if we're going to keep doing that, there comes a point where, and I hate to say this because I came into this year ridiculously excited about the Atlanta Braves. I was going on, quite literally, going on nationally syndicated baseball shows around the country. And going, Braves over 101. It's a lock. It's guaranteed. Bet's paycheck on it. Well, I'm about to be out of paycheck. You went up against the 5th man in the Nationals rotation yesterday. You managed 5 hits and you dropped 3 out of 4 at home against a team that is sub 500 by a handful of games. It's not good enough. When we come back here in a minute, let's talk some football. I got some interesting thoughts as a couple of folks yesterday from different sites decided to give out some of their preseason NFL predictions. Lonzo and I are going to take a look at those and see which ones we like and which ones we don't when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. You guys are underwater right now?
No, I fixed it.
Okay.
Yeah. I wasn't muted.
Ah, okay. That's actually brilliant, Shane. I like that a lot. Classic new guy.
Activities continue today. The team has 3 practices scheduled after today. That's June 3rd and 4th, along with the 6th. After that, it's on to mandatory minicamp that's scheduled from June the 11th through the 13th. After that, attention turns to training camp in late July. Then the preseason schedule, the regular season.
I was looking for pen and scrap paper.
Opener, Sunday, September the 8th.
Might be one under that stack to your left. Look underneath it. Don't write on that one, but there might be one underneath it.
I've submitted a state traffic observing the Cordell traffic cam showing construction in that left lane northbound I-85 in between Pelham Road and Batesville Road. You've got some delays. That was pretty heavy there. I would say slow back to I-385. Now on the southbound side of I-85.
Angel in the outfield, the Mike Trout story. I love that.
That is
And have that is 3 for when 5 or so. whatever you wanna do.
okay. Sports Flash, 3. I was going to ask you. I was trying to find a scrap piece of paper, but
For what?
just a scrap piece of paper to
what?
write something down so I could have it to reference, like for timing purposes. I mean, that's something you use. I won't go
You
touch it.
go ahead.
If you use my last name Brown as your code, Prize Picks will match your first deposit to $100. That's code Brown for a $100 first deposit match. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for details.
Don't second guess. Just remember.
I'm trying. That's why I'm writing it down.
Driving through Buffalo, dude, I'm shocked we're in Buffalo, South Carolina. I have been to Buffalo, South Carolina, hilariously. One of the very few places I have been. The fiance, not too long ago, had something made. I had to go pick up for her in Buffalo, South Carolina. I had lunch there at a place called Midway Barbecue, and it's pretty solid. It was pretty solid.
So closer to 50.
It varies. You got to look at how long the break is. Count and see how many minutes are in the break. You can go a little bit later if there's about as many minutes. So it varies from hour to hour.
You're in hot water, mister.
What I do?
You cannot write definitive time down because there isn't one right
That
now.
old outdated tank water heater.
Maybe it's time we finally switch to an Navien tankless.
When you sit down, look how many minutes are
Hot water.
that's the last break.
Your energy costs.
Hey, look at this. Our utility bill is lower since we got the Navien tankless water heater.
Who's in hot water now?
We are all the time.
Not being mean, I can't give you a time. It's going to be somewhere between 53 and 55. And if Rob goes to break, then you go to break.
Rejoin.
Talk to Robin Lonzo. Call 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-FAN-FONE. This is the award-winning Rob Brown Show. Mornings.
On the Fan upstate.
Yesterday evening, after watching the basketball game, I don't really want to call it that.
It's what they called it. So, I mean, technically it was a basketball game.
I mean, technically correct's the best kind of correct, I guess. The complete lack of a game. As I was really only tuned into the game to see if my props were going to hit, if I'm being honest with you. Like, it's the only reason I stayed in touch with that game. Because it was, Chuck said after the game, he was like, this thing was over 10 minutes into the second quarter. Y'all.
Yeah, I watched till halftime. I recorded it and watched like the end of the fourth quarter this morning.
I could have saved you time. Could have told you don't need to worry about it. Luka did Luka things, Kyrie did Kyrie things, and Minnesota did no things.
I wanted to see at what point where did the coach set the guys down, and probably a little bit later than he should have.
2 minutes and 1 assist less than I needed him to. Yay. All right. So blah, blah, blah. Put that to the side. Started looking around and what do you want? I was thinking about football last night. Right? I was thinking about football. That game was so bad it made me think about an entire different sport, and that's somebody who loves basketball. So started looking around last night and started finding some predictions, projections, and prognostications put out by different sports writers from around America. And I thought we would respond to some of them. So let's start with what was put out by ESPN's Football Power Index for the National Football League. This great one is the order of goodest teams according to ESPN.
Goodest is a technical term, right?
Radio term specifically. Yeah, it's science. It's science. 32, the Panthers. Okay, fine. Like, I'm not going to push back on that until they're not that anymore, right? Like, we had the conversation yesterday with Rashad Beard, and I said, your co-host David Rhodes did a whole stream where he's like, I'm tired of the Panthers' disrespect. Great one. This ain't disrespect. This is just subjective reality,
There's
right?
a reason why they should have been picking one.
Yeah.
Because they're not good.
Yeah. Panthers 32, Patriots 31, Broncos 30, Giants 29, Commanders bums 28, Titans 27, Saints 26, Vikings 25. I might flip the Patriots and the Broncos. Outside of that, yeah, whatever. Like, the Titans are going to step back. Saints aren't going to be very good this year. Vikings is interesting to me because, like, I really think that team is hinged on J.J. McCarthy, and I don't want to be a team that's hinged on J.J. McCarthy, but the rest of that team I genuinely think is better than the 25th best team. They're not worse than the Cardinals.
What would they have been ranked if a quarterback hadn't moved to Atlanta?
Much higher than 25, right?
Which says a lot about what they think of J.J. McCarthy.
And or maybe Kirk Cousins. Kirky, as we lovingly call him on the show, and nothing else.
Well, I'm guessing Kirk is ranked ahead of where his old team is.
Well, let's keep going and find out. They got the Raiders at 24, the Cardinals at 23, the Buccaneers at 22, the Seahawks at 21, and the Colts at 20. I am going to go with, of those teams, Vikings at 25, too low. Raiders 24, no problem. Cardinals at 23, way too high, right? Like, I know you got Marvin Harrison Jr., and that's spectacular. I think that's a great pickup. Marvin Harrison Jr.'s got a lot of weight placed on him as a rook wide receiver, and as much as I have defended him from the relentless attacks, vicious attacks of Lonzo, Kyler Murray's Kyler Murray until he's not Kyler Murray anymore.
Short people got no reason. 19,
Chicago. I actually think Chicago's too low. And I know, again, a lot of these.
Come on. Chicago should be lower than that.
Absolutely not.
Without a doubt.
Absolutely not. Chicago here's a definitive statement. Just as far as talent goes, Chicago has the best wide receiver core in the National Football League. That's not a question. I'm not asking you if it's true. I'm telling you that is a fact. They have the best wide receiver core in the National Football League this year. They've got a guy in the running back field in DeAndre Swift that is more than a capable runner, but is also an excellent pass catcher out of the backfield. And they've put together a solid enough defense. I'll give you this. They got the Chargers at 18. I'm absolutely not putting the Bears behind the Chargers right now. Jim Harbaugh or not.
Yeah, I think you have to put the Bears behind the Chargers because of Jim Harbaugh. a winner in the NFL and in college, but definitely a winner in the NFL. And he will turn that team around. Will they win the West? No, but they're definitely going to be better than Chicago.
I will buy into the Chargers when you explain to me how it is that they got better around Justin Herbert right now. They added some offensive linemen. Great. How did the Chargers get better around Justin Herbert? Because they've been
this
average. Just
easy.
Jim Harbaugh?
They just became a running team.
They have.
Yeah, they just became a running team, which will open a lot more things up for Herbert.
To throw to who? You still got to have somebody to catch the football, and I don't think they do. They got the Steelers at 17. They have the Steelers listed right in the middle. I actually don't have a problem with that. I think a lot of people forget the Steelers were a playoff team last year, and in my opinion, they absolutely got better here. Absolutely got better. 16 is the Jacksonville Jaguars. I actually don't have a problem with that. I don't think talent has been the issue with the Jacksonville Jaguars the last couple of years. I don't. I think it has been just the inability to handle pressure. Now, maybe that does him up again this year. Is there a team with more pressure on them than Jacksonville?
Maybe the quarterback's a little overrated. Could be. Maybe expectations were a little too high because of how good he was in college, and he was really good in college. That could be it, because you brought in a coach that should have improved his play, and I don't know that he got better last year.
We'll find out. They have Kirky and the Falcons at 15, better than average. I do not have a problem with this at all. I really do think Atlanta could be a good team. They are a team I'm taking an over bet on this season. I absolutely think Atlanta will be a good team. Bijan Robinson is the truth at running back. They have put together a good wide receiver core that has not had the chance to shine because quick pop quiz. Who was the quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons last year? Exactly.
Started with an R.
Desmond Ridder.
Told you.
Yeah. Who was quarterback the year before that?
I don't know.
Big, tall Hawaiian guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You get my point?
Quit.
Marcus Mariota.
Yeah. Who
the
did pretty
Falcons,
well the first couple games and then fell off. Yeah.
The Falcons have been a rudderless ship the last couple of years because of the quarterback spot. Again.
Yeah, but you already created some possible controversy by drafting a quarterback when you just got Kirk Cousins. I think it's going to come down to what Kirk Cousins decides. Is he going to prove everybody wrong and go, this is how stupid the Falcons organization is for drafting, or is he going to get in his feelings, which he bet very well could be, and do horrible?
I've said a couple times, we don't have to go into this whole thing right here. But I've said a couple of times, I think the whole quarterback controversy going to be causing a problem thing in Atlanta is just dramatically overblown. I think it's dramatically overblown.
Listen, I came around here to the other side, and you're already having problems.
You're a host now, Alonzo.
Because I'm on the
you're a host now.
I've been that for like
I get to come at you now.
7 years. Oh, come
embrace debate.
Come at me.
The quarterback controversy thing
me from there
is I got life, Raven. Wow. It's overrated. It's overblown. Let me put it this way. If Kirky is still the guy that can lead this team to success.
You're going to do this all season, aren't you?
Oh, all season. Yes. All off season, all season, all next season if he sticks around. If Kirky is a quarterback that is capable of leading the Atlanta Falcons where they wanted to go when they signed the guy, then Kirky's got to be mentally tough enough to put the Michael Penix Jr. draft selection in the back pocket. They got the Browns at 14. Why? Someone explain that one to me. They got the Rams at 13.
So maybe the Browns has to do with their defense, and
it's going to be a good defense.
And maybe they think Deshaun will have a bounce back year.
It's going to be a good defense. I will roll 0% with Deshaun Watson. Rams at 13, Jets at 12. I am going to tell you, I don't know if this is me giving into peer pressure. I don't know if this is just my knowing of ball finally catching up with me. I think the Jets are going to be an over bet for me this year. But I think it's all riding on Aaron Rodgers' Achilles, right?
Does that hurt you?
No.
Is there a part of you that goes,
No, I don't trust Robert Saleh at all. I don't trust Robert Saleh at all. I feel the same way. Listen, and just so you know, it's not a beat up an Aaron Rodgers thing. Everything I've said about Aaron Rodgers, I've said about Kirky too. My man is Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old coming off of a, catastrophic leg injury.
That just means he's a man because he's now 40. And how much coaching is there really going to be if Aaron Rodgers is true to form and gets out there and makes it past like 5 plays?
We'll find out. I mean, maybe Aaron Rodgers negates Robert Saleh. Maybe he is the guy that makes him not a factor in all of this. We'll find out. They went and got some wide receiver help. They built up the offense defensively. They might be one of the best 5 defenses in the NFL. I think they're an overbet. They got them at 12, one spot behind the Dolphins at 11 and the Packers at number 10. No real issues with either one of those. The Texans at 9. They're behind the Eagles at 8. The Bengals at 7. The Cowboys at 6. The Bills at 5. The Lions at 4. The Ravens, the Chiefs, and the 49ers 3-2-1 to cap it all off. Of the top 10, I actually really don't have an issue with any of these. I don't have an issue with any of these. I think the Texans this year have some room to prove that last year was not a fluke, but they're on tape now.
Dallas and Buffalo are way too high.
I don't have a problem with Dallas. I think we forget what Dallas was in the regular season. Dallas's inability to succeed in the playoffs does not negate the fact that they're going to be a 12 or 13 win regular season team, just like they were last year. The Bills are too high. As much as y'all know I love Josh Allen, and I will defend Josh Allen because Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, period, point blank.
It's just Josh you're going to see this year.
You have got to be given the equipment to work. And I mean this when I say I don't think there is a player in the league that I hope is better than Keon Coleman. I hope Keon Coleman is a dude because Keon Coleman deserves it, and it's going to make the Bills stick right around this spot if he is. But until Keon Coleman shows up to be the Stephon Diggs replacement, the Bills are too high at 5. I agree. But it ain't because of Josh Allen. Lions at 4, no problem. Ravens at 3, no problem. Chiefs at 2, no problem. 49ers at 1, no problem. That's my top.
I could say that being at 2 is kind of disrespectful when you're the reigning defending.
You could, but that'd be a
2 years running.
That'd be a silly thing to say.
I do think it's disrespectful.
You're number 2.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, if you're number 2, you're in the Super Bowl.
I'm a Saints fan. You're number 2.
Yeah, I know.
You're number 2, and it's an NFC team ahead of you.
What do you got to do? All you can do is win the championship. Is there something more you got to do to get yourself ranked number 1?
These are the 2024 rankings, not the 2023 rankings. I'll tell you what, if we power rank 2023 teams, the Chiefs are number 1.
Wow, thank you.
You're welcome. But we're talking about 2024. And I do think it is. I've already said, I think it's a step back year for the Chiefs. Is that disrespect?
Everyone thinks that. And everyone's coming at them. And they think they're Georgia now. They're just getting arrested every other week.
You're going to take a step back from being the best team in the world really coming at them?
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
I think it's highly disrespectful.
I don't think it is at all. All right. Later on in the show, Fox Sports and ESPN also gave out their top 3 Super Bowl bets for Super Bowl champions in 2024. Spoiler alert, Lonzo's going to be real upset. So we'll talk about that coming up in the next hour of the show. We'll get some soccer in here because we've got the UEFA's Champions League finals coming up tomorrow. We got Dort that is going to be out there. Borussia Dortmund back on the pitch in the UEFA League Champions final since 97, I think was the last time that they got there. So I'm intrigued to talk a little bit about that. We have got to get a little bit more basketball in here as we get set for the finals. And of course, it's Friday, so you better believe I brought some weird stories to the table. All right. Now, I'll tell you who you're not going to disrespect. You disrespect Patrick Mahomes all you want. Disrespect Andy Reid. Disrespect Travis Kelce, Mr. Swift. Disrespect all of them. You will not disrespect Alonzo doing the sports flash.
All right. You're right. You won't, because I'll come at you. Okay. Hello. The Florida Panthers have pushed the New York Rangers to the brink of elimination with a 3-2 win on the road. New York opened the scoring just 2 minutes into the game, but Gustav Forling and Anton Lundell got two back to take the lead. Sam Bennett buried an empty netter with 2 minutes left in the third to seal the win. Game 6 will be Saturday in Florida. Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals is tonight, with Dallas visiting Edmonton with the series tied 2-2. The NFL has selected the Chicago Bears to be featured on this year's edition of Hard Knocks. This will be the first time Chicago has been featured on the show, which has run since 2001. Make sure you tune in this afternoon from 3 to 7 p.m. for our brand new local show, Wire to Wire. Cole Bryson and Dees will get you up to date on the latest local and national sports news. Great guests, great debate. It's a whole lot of fun, and it's all Wire to Wire. Now you need to time it to the top of the hour. And you got this. I'm not being mean. Don't take me as being mean.
No, I'm not. It's just like that's what's kicking my butt.
No, you're good.
Like I'm struggling with how to.
Counting is difficult for everyone when it comes to time. It has nothing to do with 4 + 4 or whatever. This is time counting. And this break was really full. But the only thing you can do going into that is give Rob the sign that he needs to go to break.
I didn't know when to actually.
Well, that's why I said you needed to count.
I saw it go into there, and I'm just like, and then it does all this crap.
Are you counting?
Is it going to be like 8:01?
Come on, man. Count. This is the hardest thing for just about everybody. Don't beat yourself up about it. But you got to practice.
I am, and it's just.
Get rid of the promo.
Which,
you realize which one's the promo.
That one?
The pankin. Yeah. It could be promo, I guess. It's going to be over, but nothing we can do. It's all Rob's fault.
Uh-oh. Brother Silas is in the house. What's up, Brother Silas? Was it me sliding this mic down?
Hour 3 of the Rob Brown Show starts right now. Great to have you. Hope that you are well. My dudes, my dudettes, my amigos, my amigas. I am Rob Brown. The great one Lonzo sits to my left today, taking on the role of, you want to host this segment? Do this segment. What do you want to talk about?
So you're being kind of mean right here.
I'm not being mean.
Because it's throwing it to me at the last second. I haven't looked at the rundown.
Pressure, baby. Come on. You got this.
Scattered. All right, let's talk about how the Chiefs are being disrespected.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
At number 2.
Yep.
There are a lot of things we can be speaking about, including the fact that Ohio State's going to win the national championship this year. We can talk about how Dennis Allen is an underrated coach. We can talk about how
I've made a mistake.
Rogue One is the worst movie ever created.
I've made an enormous mistake.
You're the one. I mean, it sounded like you act like I couldn't come up with something to talk about.
No.
Because I mean,
I just
we can go back and talk about the moon landing for like we can talk about that for a while. We can talk about the fact that the sky is clear, but chemtrails are in the distance. I mean, I can keep going if you want me to.
Shockingly, I don't.
Well, you're the
I
one.
did.
You handed the baton. I did not fumble with it. I may stumble a little bit out of the gate, but my stride is beautiful.
I think you took the baton and you just chunked it over the fence.
I did not. I'm ready. I would hand it back, but you would fumble it for sure.
On the Rob Brown Show in the fan upstate.
All right, don't do that to me again.
Hey, Hard Knocks has selected the Chicago. Genuine question. Who's watched Hard Knocks in the last couple of years? I watched it off and on last year.
I think I watched like one episode, but I hadn't watched it in forever because I didn't have HBO for a long time. And now I have the Max app, so I can watch it. But I don't know. We get so much behind the scenes from the internet and all the things that we learn from that. It's lost its appeal as far as it was. Oh, we're finally going to get to see behind what things are going on. Well, now we can just see it almost every day.
Has the internet largely, not entirely, but has the internet largely ruined being surprised by things? By things in general. I'm talking movies, music, TV shows, whatever. Has the internet generally ruined the ability to surprise people?
Yeah, because there are some people out there, their thrill in life is spoiling on whatever it is.
Their thrill in life.
Whether it's spoiling the TV show, spoiling the movie, spoiling, hey, wrestling, we're not doing kayfabe anymore. We're going to tell you what just happened. And you know, when things used to be taped and you couldn't find out till the next day what actually happened. Now you can't do that. There's just, I don't want to say it's a few bad apples. It's like probably 75% of the internet. That's what it is. There's some good stuff on there, but there's more bad stuff.
Part of the thing for Hard Knocks used to be that they had these moments where, in fact, I remember one of the very first ones when the Patriots were on Hard Knocks, which was like 2002, 3. One of the very first editions of Hard Knocks, which was a show that I used to have HBO just for Hard Knocks.
Really?
Yeah, I did. Now, I would watch other stuff on HBO, but I had HBO for Hard Knocks.
So it wasn't for HBO After Dark?
That was Skinamax.
No, there was HBO.
Oh, I know.
Dark. I know.
But
you
if you,
I know you know.
What do you want? I was a 22-year-old fella.
That's right. You're an adult.
All right.
You can do what you want to do.
All right. You get it where you can get it, I think is the expression. Or if it's not, it is now.
Whatever it may be.
Whatever it may be. I used to go out of my way for Hard Knocks. There was I think Hard Knocks was important for a lot of fans because I think Hard Knocks, when it first rolled out, Hard Knocks kind of showed you the aspects of football that on Sundays in the season, we don't think about. There was the one where, and I'm trying to remember the name of the player. I'll see if I can find it, but I remember there was the episode, and I don't think they do this anymore. I think they, one coach kind of stopped, and then Hard Knocks made the decision to kind of change up. But over the years, I think it's happened to the Patriots. I think when the Rams did it, it made it. but they would show like players getting cut from the team.
Yeah, you see them. Hey, the coach needs to see you right now, and then there's that long walk up to the office.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't want to see. I never wanted to see that.
See, in a weird way, I did.
Oh, come
and
on, that is sick.
Hang on. It's not from the perspective of like taking any joy in it. I don't take any joy in it, in watching a man lose his job that he fought his ass for, especially when it's guys that like they get outshot, right? Undrafted free agent. Nobody picked him up in the draft. Guy comes to camp, is making $500 a day, busting it out there, trying to make the team. And then he doesn't, right? Makes it to the last round of cuts and gets cut. And, he knows he's done. And a lot of these were well before we had the USFL or the UFL or whatever the FL we've got right now. And I think that the reason that I was not into it, that's a weird way to put it, was not into it. The reason that I wanted to see it was because I think it made me appreciate that much more the guys who made a team, the guys who played on to a team, the young guys that were able to claim their spot, the old guys that were able to hang on for another year, the decision-making process that a coach has to go through. I promise you it was as uncomfortable for those coaches to have to call a guy in and go, hey, I know you've got career hopes and dreams and aspirations, but no.
Yeah, but at the same time, the internet has ruined that part too, because a guy can be cut and then you could jump online and find out what team has picked him up within, minutes or hours, as opposed to going, oh man, that guy went back to work at McDonald's. That sucks for him. He's going to smell like fries for the rest of his life. But now you can go on, oh, look, he got cut by Seattle, but Denver picked him up.
I think that's part of it. I also think there's the part of it that there's nothing folks love online more than grabbing clips from a show and just posting the clip with or without the context of it. And so when a dude gets cut from Hard Knocks, within like 10 seconds on Twitter, there's 1 million people who have posted the clip of him getting cut going, oh, Hard Knocks just show. I don't know. Like it kind of feels like it took some of the gusto out of it. However, I think I'm back in for Hard Knocks this year. And I think I'm back in for Hard Knocks this year because of Caleb Williams. I do. I think I'm in for Caleb Williams. And I'm in for 2 reasons. Number one, the last time that we had Hard Knocks with a number 1 overall drafted quarterback as the central piece of it was 2018 when Baker Mayfield went to Cleveland. And I watched that season too. But that season was kind of interesting to me because I knew the team was going to be crap. And it didn't matter how good Baker was. The team was going to be bad. Baker could have gone in there and made a Pro Bowl as a rookie, but the team was going to be crap. And so for me, I thought it was interesting, kind of the juxtaposition of you're really excited. You got this new guy at quarterback. He's the number 1 draft pick. He's a dude that everybody in C-Town is super hype about. But on the flip side, we also know your team's going to suck.
Yeah, your thought process there, maybe it's because you're from Florida and not from Ohio. Being from Ohio and living there, half my life, Cleveland always sucks. So, I mean, it wasn't like suddenly they were going to be bad. How many quarterbacks did they go through before they got
77?
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yep, 77.
It's like watching a train wreck that goes like 3 feet and wrecks.
I had
every few minutes.
I had a buddy a bunch of years ago, back when I lived in Florida before I moved here. I had a beer fridge in my garage, and on the side of the fridge, I had a buddy of mine who came over and he put he was a Browns fan, and I'd let my friends come over and they could decorate whatever they wanted on the fridge. I don't know why it was a thing, but they all loved it. And he put a roll of duct tape on the side of the fridge, and then he wrote every Cleveland quarterback that had come through over 10 years, and it was like the length of the fridge. We knew the team was going to suck. Cleveland fans knew they were going to be bad. NFL fans knew they were going to be bad. But there was also this sense of optimism. Like, if this guy is the guy, people are going to flock to him. Now, free agents are going to want to be here. Maybe we can turn this thing around. So it was compelling. This one's interesting to me because I don't think the Bears are going to suck. In fact, I think the Bears can be pretty good this year. I honestly think the Bears can compete in the NFC North good this year. if Caleb Williams is good. So this is less about on that one. I thought Baker's going to be good. I just don't know if the Browns are going to be worth a crap. And this time it's the other way around. I think the Bears can be very good. I just don't know if Caleb Williams is going to be that guy. But there is also, I'm going to be straight up with you, there is an element of me that is pulling for Caleb Williams. Because this dude is getting roasted constantly on Twitter. Oh, he painted his fingernails. I don't care. Oh, he wears funny suits. I don't care. I don't care. I know what you're saying, even if you won't outright say it. I know what you're implying, even if you won't outright imply it. All right. And I don't care because the dude can play. And now I want to see that guy succeed for all of the middle fingers he will throw at those folks.
Okay. All right. So you're going with the contrarian aspect of this. That's fine. I get it. But I don't care if he was the most straight-laced guy in the world. This quarterback crop this year, I don't think is very good. So and of course I do have bias. They got rid of Justin Fields, and I think it was a mistake, and I'm rooting against him because of that. So it has nothing to do with fingernails, hair, suits, whatever he's wearing. I'm rooting against him because they got rid of a quarterback who I think is better than what they're acting.
Are you rooting
like.
against him or are you rooting against the Bears? Why would you root against him? It's not his decision.
I'm rooting against the Bears.
Okay.
But
that's different to me.
I also believe that he is overrated.
I mean, you might believe that. You're rooting against him or you just don't think he's going to be good because those are different things.
By the way, if he's good, the Bears win. So I have to root against him.
All right, I get that. I just don't like. All right, so
do I dislike him as a person? No, I don't know.
If Justin Fields,
I don't care about all that.
If Justin Fields was a quarterback from Cal, do you care?
If I thought if I rooted for him, as if I thought he was getting a bad rap, yeah, I would care. I've seen it. You and I with Baker Mayfield, we thought he got a bad rap. And we were pro and probably still are pro Baker Mayfield.
Yep.
As long as he's not playing the Panthers or the Saints. And so you can find a player where you think they're being treated wrong and not getting a fair shake, and you can root for that player.
I don't have a huge fault with that. I don't have a huge problem with that. I am pulling for Caleb Williams, which is, and let's also be clear. There's another side of this discussion for me. The other side of the discussion for me is that when it comes to Jayden Daniels, I have said a number of times that I think that Jayden Daniels is going to be the best quarterback in this class. I think Jayden Daniels is the most athletic quarterback in this class. I think he's got every bit of arm talent that a prospect needs to succeed in the NFL. And so for me, there is a little bit of a reputation thing on the line here. If Jayden Daniels is to come out and be an excellent quarterback this year, then Rob Brown is going to look like a genius on the air. And I very much want that because I can go pull old clips from back in the day of me saying Jayden Daniels is that guy, is him, and I'll look like a brilliant, brilliant individual. But I'm pulling for Caleb Williams because, like I said, I think the dude is taking an extraordinary and unnecessary amount of, I'm going to say hate. I'm going to say it's from
the haters
that are
they like to drink their haterade and eat their hater tots.
See, I guess I just haven't seen all that. I mean, I heard a little bit at the beginning, like near draft time, but I haven't seen anything since then.
Oh, it's still very much happening on the internets.
You must be on that on the dark web.
No, I'm on the.
Everything's
listen,
evil.
I swim in the worst circles on Twitter. Okay, I dive headfirst into the deep end of disgusting when it comes on Twitter. So I probably am seeing the worst of the worst. But I'm seeing a lot of the worst of people that are beating up on this dude for having the audacity to paint his fingernails. I don't care. Can you win? Can you throw a 9 route? Can you hit a crossing guy between the two linebackers? Can you find the window and deliver the football? And if you can, I got your back, bro.
And can you handle when you get sacked and the defensive tackle goes, nice color, bro?
Yeah, that's it.
Talking about your nails.
That's it. Can you play? That's all I'm looking for. All right, let's get. Oh God, I don't want to do this at all. Let's get Mike in on the show. This is going to be something that I regret immensely. My goal is to get him in and out in 30 seconds. Michael, welcome to the Rob Brown Show.
Hi, buddy. I've missed you.
Yeah, no, I know.
Tell me all
what do you
NBA
want?
Finals. I'm not going to be here next week. I'm going to be in Scotland, and I'm not going to be able to listen to any of these preview shows. Can you tell me who you're thinking for game one? Because I kind of have to make some picks.
I hope that whatever course you're playing, I'm assuming you're calling to tell me that you're going to be playing the old course. I hope that you step out of your VW Mini and roll your ankle and can't play. That's what I hope.
Well, it's funny. I would still be limping down the old course and Carnoustie, Kings Barn, North Berwick. I can do this all day, buddy.
For those of you that have missed the
on the 18th fairway,
nobody cares. For those of you
are so jealous
that have missed,
you should be happy for your friend that he's able to do things that you're not able to do. I mean, live vicariously through him.
Able to do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, you know, I don't know about his game, but I do. I feel bad for you that Rob is your friend and he's so angry with you.
He mentioned he travels to the darkest parts of Twitter. It's like, son, is this your first time? Like, you think you're born in the dark?
For those of you that have missed the 4-year running gimmick that is my dear friend Mike, a frat bro from back in the day, Mike likes to do this thing where he goes and golfs at the nicest courses on planet Earth, and it's the only time he ever calls, but he doesn't just call me on my phone and go, hey man, playing the old course isn't that dope. Where I would go, yeah, that's pretty sick, bro. I'm kind of jealous right now. No, he decides he needs to call me on my radio program to tell me in front of all of my friends and all of my dear listeners, I'm going to play the old course in Scotland. I hope you twist your ankle.
You can't win, show of the year, Rob, if you don't take the pros and the negatives of working radio.
I am the pro. You are the negative.
Well, in this case, I'm going to have a great negative time sending you photos and videos.
I hope you twist both ankles.
I'll still be over there. I'll be fine.
When are you going? When are you going so that I can block you in my phone for a month?
I leave at 3 p.m. today.
Oh, today. Perfect.
Today.
Perfect. Enjoy the flight. I hope it rains the entire time.
40% chance of rain at Carnoustie. I'm actually pretty stoked about it. 30-mile-an-hour winds, 40% chance of rain.
Have I ever told you suck as a person?
It's so awesome. To keep it on show, game one, who you think is like the Mavs looked pretty darn good last night. Like they were nasty. Now, granted, it was Minnesota, so it's like LOL, that's hilarious. But like they were up by 30 at one point. It was hilarious.
I am actually going with Dallas in round one, and here's why. Porzingis comes back. He has not played in 6 weeks. We still got 6 more days, but they will have had 9 days of rest. Plus, they're adding Porzingis back into the rotation. And on top of that, the Boston Celtics played Series 1 against Miami. No Jimmy Butler. They played Series 2 against Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell goes down. They play Series 3 against Indiana. Tyrese Halliburton goes down. All 3 rounds that the Celtics have played through to get here, they played at the most 2 games against the team that had their best player on the floor. No best player in round 1, best player for 2 games in round 2, best player in 3 for 2 games in round 3. I don't think Boston has actually played the best version of a team yet, and they've got to work Porzingis back in, and they've got to do it after having 9 days off. I think Dallas wins game 1. I think Boston wins the series.
Oh, okay. I will keep that in mind. I look forward to listening to the show overseas and then calling you and laughing hysterically. Just so you know,
I hope your plane lands 10 minutes after your tea time.
We actually play on Sunday. I've got a 24-hour cushion for that reason in case there's a delay.
You're the worst person I know. Mike, I will see you later, pal.
Everything.
Goodbye.
See you in a few months.
Yeah, for sure. With friends like those, who needs enemies, right?
Man, I wish I had friends like that.
No,
I
you
can
don't.
Go, dude. I'm so glad that you're able to do that. You're awesome.
They don't.
Sure, I do.
It'd be one thing if he was like, "Isn't this cool?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, it's for you. It's awesome for you." It's not what he does. It's not what he does. He will call. I guarantee you, that man will take a $50 fee to call me from the first tee box.
Yeah,
guaranteed.
I've been here during that stuff, and I think it's amazing.
He's the worst person. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
You got New Life
here?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys, be right back. Stay right there for me. All right, dudes and dudettes, we back. Joby, that'd be a contest. Mike's a good golfer. Mike's a just above scratch golfer as well. He's good. In fact, when we go down to St. Augustine, I'm trying to see if there's somewhere, maybe like Friday during the day, depending on when everybody gets down there, if we can sneak out and play around, because St. Augustine's got some beautiful golf. So I'm hoping we can if we put together around, me, you, Andrew, and Mike, we'll probably go play. Me, you, Andrew, Mike in a 4, my little brother, Jack. I don't know. There's probably 2 more I can find in my list, but we'll try to get around down there. St. Augustine's got gorgeous golf.
Heard that so many times on NASCAR broadcasts on MRN.
Used to be a fan. We used to be a partner with it. Well, I think they still are partner with the Saints. So that commercial would, or that jingle would play 1,000 times the Saints game.
Yeah. Anytime I hear it in the car, I'm like, Chanticleers. Sean's up.
Did you see what I sent you on Twitter?
I have not, but I will go look at it now.
Texter said the internet has ruined. No need to elaborate.
So, okay. Still stick to the normal break on this coming segment.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and then
That's incredible.
yeah, so it'll be a short segment.
Short, like 33. Okay, gotcha.
I would never leave the house.
I know it's
60, and then we come back.
some people are very, very creative.
Yeah.
Weather, promo, rejoin.
Lonzo just found a clip of some dudes who built a video game with it's a tank simulator, but the controls are actual tank controls with a reloadable tank gun, a reloadable tank cannon that has a VR sight, and you sight it in as if you were a tank gunner, down to and including putting in a shell, shooting the gun, the shell ejects, and you reload it. That's unreal.
How many times did they mess up before they finally perfected it, though?
One day, because that's all they did. They built that, and then they did not leave that brocade for like days. The Rob Brown Show continues. It is the Fan Upstate. So, we talked back in the last hour about where the experts rank the NFL teams top to bottom. Let's take a look at where the public thinks these teams land. Patrick Everson, pardon me. Patrick Everson is a Fox Sports betting analyst. He is also a betting analyst for the BetQL network. Actually, we'll get Patrick on the show next week to talk about this. Pat's good people. I've had him on BetQL multiple times. Patrick Everson goes around and he talks to the bookmakers at the casinos, and he just kind of gets where the numbers are. So he went and he looked at the teams that have gained the most public interest in betting their over or under win total. So, one of the teams he points out that is getting a lot of attention is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, the Kenny Pickett experiment ended after just 2 seasons. They decided to move on from Kenny Pickett. They bring in a pair of quarterbacks. They bring Russell Wilson in after he got dumped by the Broncos, and then they went and made the trade for Justin Fields, who wanted to end up in Pittsburgh. And that is, according to Patrick Everson, very intriguing to the public. The win total opened at 7.5 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The public bet so heavy on the over that it went up to a game within a week. So the public went in at 80+% of the money for Pittsburgh over 7.5 wins. They bumped it up to 8.5. But here is what is very interesting about that. They bumped it up to 8.5, and according to Everson, after it moved up to 8.5, the sharp money, the Vegas Sharks, the big folks, the dudes who do this for a living, they hammered the under 8.5 so hard that the line has settled at 8.5. But great one, the 8.5 total under is minus 160, not a 110. 110 means Vegas says it's going to be this is the number. They've got it at minus 160, which means the under is favored by the sharp money, but the public is still checking in at over 8.5. So if you go over, you're getting plus 130 right now, which means that the folks in Vegas think it's the under. The public largely thinks it's the over. This is a playoff team from last year. the playoff team from last year, and folks think they are going, the Sharps think that a year after they went 10-7, that their win total is going to drop under 7 games. I don't see that happening at all.
I think this is a Russell Wilson factor. But I think you also got to look at that. It's Mike Tomlin, man. He's never had a losing season, right? Ever.
That is correct.
Yeah. So
that is correct.
He's going to win with this team. Whoever the quarterback is, he's going to win, even if he has to take it out of the quarterback's hands and make it just a run every other play.
Here's the thing, and I guess this is part of the reason. I think that we've talked about this in the past, I think there's a narrative around Russell Wilson that he was the problem in Denver. I don't think he was. I've told you what I think the problem is. I think the problem is Sean Payton is a bit of a fraud. I say that as a guy who has a Lombardi with Sean Payton at the helm. I think Sean Payton is a bit of a fraud. I don't think the Saints offense was ever something that was just like this imaginative, forward-thinking, it's never been seen or done before offense. I think you had Drew Brees, historically the most accurate quarterback in the history of the National Football League, that carried Sean Payton to a Lombardi. I have gone so far as to say, I think there are 4 or 5 other coaches around the league at the time that if Drew Brees was paired up with that head coach in New Orleans would have had 2 or 3 more Lombardis than they ended up with. I think Sean Payton's a fraud. I think he's overpaid by the Denver Broncos. I don't think they're going to succeed under Sean Payton. I don't think Russell Wilson was the problem. And if that proves out to be true, I don't see Pittsburgh drop it. Let me put it this way. 10-7 is realistic again.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, but Russell Wilson was there before Sean Payton got there and didn't win before Sean Payton got there. If anyone's a fraud, it's Russell Wilson. So if it was double fraud going on, it's double fraud.
I have 2 words for you.
He is overrated. Is he a great quarterback? No. Is he a good quarterback? He was when he was younger. I don't know what he is now, but he had an excellent defense in Seattle, and he had an excellent running game, and he just had to be okay for that team to win. And now he went to Denver where he had to be better than okay, and he couldn't. He's going to Pittsburgh, and he's going to be riding pine.
I have 2 words for you. Nathaniel can't hack it. That's 3 words. Shut up. Nathaniel can't hack it. A dude that was unanimously considered by players and coaches the worst head coach in the NFL at the time. And at this point, I'm relatively confident in saying Nathaniel Hackett was the worst coach in the history of the National Football League. And there have been some winners at being losers.
There's been some pretty bad ones, especially back in the day, even before you were born.
Fair, but he's in the conversation for the worst NFL head coach of all time again. You've got to have the equipment to win.
Did you see Lou Holtz or
Lou Holtz?
Yeah, well, I guess Saban did okay. Spurrier. I mean, there's been some guys who just haven't been really that good of NFL coaches.
I don't disagree.
Urban, your boy Urban,
sucked. I take it back. Nathaniel Hackett got saved by Urban Meyer being the worst coach in the history of the National Football League. The Saints had a cat by the name of John North a couple of years ago that was tragic. Pre-Jim Mora. Playoffs. Nathaniel Hackett, Sean Payton. That's why Russell Wilson failed. We will find out. I'm going to go ahead and call the shot now to go ahead and just start the next hour and 26 minutes of a fight with the great one. I'll bet you Justin Fields doesn't start a game this year. I'll make that bet right now.
We'll see. I'm not, well, even though, all right, the boss has expressed that he would like me to do more bets, even though I don't want to, for the entertainment of the program. So we'll just have to figure out some stakes.
I like that. When we come back here in just a minute, I got a couple more NFL over-unders that the public is backing and that the sharps are fading. We'll see which side we fall in on when we come back. Rob Lonzo and you, the Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's the Fan Upstate.
Your one-stop shop for sports betting insight. It's MGM tonight on the BetQL Network. Tonight at 7, only on
Legitimate conversation, by the way.
Yeah, I agree.
No, I'm saying with him.
Oh, he wants you to
legitimate conversation. Oh, he just wants me to lose. That's what he wants.
Yeah, I think he'd be perfectly happy if I lose.
I don't know whose ego takes a bigger hit when they lose, me or you. I don't know. I really don't know.
I would go with this. Whose ego takes the better hit? Me. Who is more likely to have people laugh when they lose a bet and take a punishment, that's a coin flip.
Well, we didn't see you lose enough last time. So, I mean, that's the problem.
So
thanks to everyone who has pointed out that the caption date is wrong. It is the 31st, not the 21st. I was late getting in the studio and also dumb this morning.
He's still late. He's been late all day.
Looking at the Cordell traffic cam, taking a little view of that. Northbound I-85, that is still
Bring back the jam cam.
We want Bill. We want Bill.
Hope Bill's doing well. I mean, it's been sporadic misses.
Got a question about something I'm seeing here.
My name's Lonzo.
I know. I'm just sorry.
I usually don't come with Beckett.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to make sure I'm reading this right. Does this mean this is coming up?
Yes.
During the next break?
New Life is in the next break.
Okay.
All right.
So we got to.
So
hit early.
He will do New Life, and then you hit the music for Sports Flash.
Oh, okay.
But you will have to go music leading into the break.
Okay. And then quickly fade it. Or no, well, fade the musical lead to the live. Yeah.
Normal live. How you doing? Normal live. Sports Flash. Go ahead and have that in 3.
Yeah. I was just and on the. Okay.
Oh, hey, Rob, in case you didn't hear it, you got New Life in the next break.
10-4. Dude tweeted out at halftime last night, hard pass on the Jeffrey Dahmer documentary. If I wanted to see a white man killing others, I'll watch the Mavericks.
Wow.
Good tweet. Good tweet.
Wesley wants some of that action about Justin Fields. Oh, I'm taking the bet. We just got to figure out.
Justin Fields will play within 4 games. Not a chance.
What the punishment is or something? Or
Yes. Yeah, I don't need any help from you on that.
I wasn't trying.
Okay, well, sound like you were. And,
No.
there'll be plenty of suggestions.
No, I wasn't suggesting anything. I don't bet. So that's why
I don't want to.
I don't bet.
But I'm a company man.
I have.
So if the boss says do it, I'm going to reluctantly do
Yes,
it.
boss.
I have friends
Yes,
who
sir.
do, and I'm just like, y'all have fun with that.
Radio is free food and lost bets. That's what radio is, especially sports radio.
I've only experienced half.
And if you don't like pizza, you're weird. Ooh. Look at what Silas put. Listen, dude. I probably would die.
I would say Lonzo might get turned into dust.
I don't think I could take a bump.
Something
but
for next week.
I wish I could.
Something for next
I'll tell you what.
All right, you know what,
Brother Silas?
I'm not gonna lose this bet. So
I'll take it.
The fact that Rob would get slammed, I'm all for, and he deserves it anyway for what he did yesterday. He's gonna try to gloss that over, but we know he deserves it.
Wait, what did I do yesterday? Oh, catching the block?
When you blocked him.
That was an accident. I've made my penance with the church.
All right. So let's see here. Ingles Market and then the Odyssey app.
How tall is Malik? I'm just curious. Is he a 7-footer? I mean, because that's a little bit further down. Well, it describes my radio career for sure. Keegan, go ahead and make it.
6'6", 515. 515. That's a typo, right, Brother Silas? That's a typo. 515.
Woo! Woo, Betty.
So during the break, we were talking about the potential bet that we have on the table. I say Justin Fields does not start a game. Wesley came in. He said Justin Fields will play within 4 games. Lonzo's in there saying he will start. Did you pick a line? Like what game? Like by win?
You said this season.
I did say this season. I'll ride with that.
So I'm going with this season.
Barring injury.
Oh no.
Barring injury.
No. You can't put stipulations on it after you.
Yes, I
already
can.
said-
That's how Vegas works.
Well, you're not Vegas.
If you bet a guy and then he doesn't play in the game, the bet doesn't count. If Russell Wilson gets hurt, the bet's off the table. Nobody wins, nobody loses. I'm saying if Russell Wilson doesn't get hurt and he just gets replaced by Justin Fields, I'll take it. Brother Silas popped in the chat, said loser has to take a world's strongest slam from Archangel Malach, which is how I'm saying it. I said, Lonzo asked.
That sounds disrespectful to Malik. It does.
Lonzo says, how big's this cat? And Brother Silas said 6'6", 5'15". Huh. I may have jumped the gun a little bit on that.
Remember, a friend of the show, Paul White, and his biggest was pretty big, but I don't know if he was.
I don't think it was 5'15".
Was King Kong Bundy 500?
I don't think he was 5'15".
I don't know. King Kong Bundy, maybe Big John Stud.
Oh,
maybe Butterbean recently.
Taking a world's strongest slam from a 515-pound wrestler.
Yeah.
If we lose this
Joey
bet.
B says Haystacks Calhoun.
Oof.
So these are large individuals.
All right, let's keep looking at this. Some of the over-under totals that Vegas is reacting to, the Sharps are reacting to, and the public is reacting to. Another team that Patrick Everson wrote specifically about, the Carolina Panthers. They set the over-under on this team at 5.5. Rashad Beard has said he thinks they can get to 6, maybe 7. I have said I think 6 is realistic. I am actually not only taking the over, but on the BetQL Network, I actually said I'm betting the over about a week ago. Now, this is another interesting one.
I can't do it. I can't.
Let me set up why, and then we'll see who we fall on the side of. Only one team has a lower season win total than Carolina. Quick in the chat, who is it? Who's the team with a lower win total than the Panthers projected in Vegas? I've read it on the air before. Which team in the NFL has a lower projected win total than the Carolina Panthers? I'll give you 10 seconds to figure the answer out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
New England.
That is correct. The Patriots is set at 5 even. So, Carolina's is at 5.5. However, the under is a minus 150 favorite. The over is plus 125. Patrick Everson said right now that the public is all over the over for Carolina, but the sharp money continues to roll in on the under. This is another one of those spots that Vegas wants to, as I've told you many times, they want to split the money 50-50. A lot of people think they want 50% of the bets coming in on one side or the other. That is not correct. They want 50% of the money coming in. The betting public, by and large, bets dramatically less than the sharps. The sharps are the guys in Vegas that are putting 10, 15, 20 grand down on a bet. Whereas, those of us out here in Sportslandia, we're throwing, 20, 50, maybe occasionally throw a $100 bet at it. And so the thought right now is that the amount of the public hitting the over for Carolina equals the amount of money, much smaller quantity of bettors, but much bigger financial bettors from Vegas that are betting the under on this team. So the smart money folks are coming in on the under, the fans coming in on the over. And I will tell you that ordinarily, the bet goes the way of the sharps. Ordinarily. That's what in the betting industry, we have what we call a public fade. A public fade is when you look and you see that all the public money's coming in on one side. You don't bet the over. You don't bet the other because you think the other is right. You bet the other because if Vegas gets most of the public money coming in on one side, that means Vegas really likes the other side of that bet. So you fade the public because Vegas has set that line specifically to try to get the public to go one direction. I can't tell if that is what's happening here or if this is just the sharp money fading the public in general. I am on the side of the public here. I am on the side of the public in going over 5.5 wins for Carolina. We broke the schedule down. I'm betting with the public on this. I'm going with the over. But I will acknowledge also that I don't know if that's my optimism for the team because I want it to be good so I can get paid, or if it's genuinely a team I think has added the pieces they need to get to 6 wins.
All right. I'm doing that thing where my heart is speaking, which you're not supposed to do with betting, apparently. But the Panthers are my NFC team, and I see no hope for them this year. Maybe in a couple years. I'm not going to go 5 years like like what we were talking about yesterday. But I maybe next year. I have no confidence in Bryce Young. I have none. Hopefully Canales can fix his feet. He can fix his feet. It's a possibility. If they take advantage of the run game, it's a possibility. I'm still not sold on the defense. I don't see them improving that much. I'm 5, definitely a possibility, but not 6. So I just can't do it. I hope I'm wrong. I got fooled so much last year. I can't do it again.
This is going to be another spot we're going to split, because I do not think you, me, or anyone else has seen anywhere close to enough from Bryce Young to say you've got no faith in him. I don't think you've seen enough. I don't think you have a sample size, because last year's team.
I think that's up to each individual as far as faith goes. And I've seen enough. An entire season is enough. How many seasons do you need? I'm asking you, how many seasons does Rob Brown need?
This is not about seasons. This is about what is in that season to matter.
By the way, I think it's funny that even Cody calls you Rob Brown and not Rob.
Everyone calls me Rob Brown. It is my name.
Okay.
My name is just Rob Brown at this point. I've got like friends' kids that I'm Uncle Rob Brown. It's just Rob Brown. That's the whole name. So I think that no one has seen enough out of BY. I think that you have to take the context of last season, right? Just like I did with Trevor Lawrence under the Urban Meyer season, his rookie year. I think you have to take the context of the season. And I think if you look at the context of the season, it is very easily recognizable that Frank Reich sucked, that the offensive line was a joke, that Miles Sanders was the most overpaid running back in the history of the National Football League, that they had no wide receiver core. Adam Thielen is not a wide receiver X. He's a wide receiver Z, and he was playing as an X, which is not good enough. And now they have, I'm not going to say they fixed those things because we don't know what John Brooks is. Again, we know Dave Canales has been an excellent offensive coordinator. A lot of excellent offensive coordinators who stink as a head coach. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, but I'm playing the over in that one.
All right,
Here's
Ray on the stream said he's seen enough of Bruce Young.
Oh, Bruce. Here's some teams that the public is heavy on the under. This one may actually heighten Lonzo's joy in the world right now. Everson reports that one of the biggest public under money draws in the NFL right now is the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners are drawing the under in this spot right now. How about this? The number is still at 11.5 wins. So you got to get to 12 for the over. 11 or less hits the under. The over-under opened at 11.5 with the over and the under both at -110. That's that coin flip number from Vegas. That's when Vegas thinks we have nailed this, they put both sides on 110 and they assume half the public money is going to come on one, half on the other, half the sharp money on one, half on the under on the other. Not been the case. The under from the betting public has popped in so much that the under is now a -130 favorite. So it's not a huge favorite. It's not like drastic and dramatic, but enough public money flowed in that in order to encourage and bait some folks to go to the over, they moved that line down to a -130 for the under and an even money on the over to get to 12 wins or more. That's real interesting. The sharps now, based on what Everson is saying and based on what I'm looking at from our MGM Insights page, the public heavy on the under, but the sharps are in on the over on this one. Another spot where they disagree. Over under on San Francisco.
Over. And here's the reason why. Who else in the NFC is better than, is there anybody in the NFC that you think are contenders with San Francisco right now? What did they do to get worse?
Are you talking in the playoffs or are we talking in the regular season?
Period. What did they do to get worse?
Detroit will be a contender this year.
Yeah. But are they better than San Francisco? I don't, as a team, as if you look at the team and how they're put together, are they better than San Francisco? Can they beat San Francisco? Yes, but I don't think that means they're necessarily a better team talent-wise.
I'm not going to say definitively they are better. I also am going to say when the playoffs roll around, being better doesn't necessarily mean anything. Being hotter does, and Detroit might be that team. There were 3 teams in the NFC who won a dozen games last year. San Francisco was one of them, Dallas was one of them, and Detroit was one of them. I absolutely think San Francisco gets back to 12. I do. I think, again, if for no other reason, then this is the last ride of this 49ers iteration. It's the last ride. McCaffrey is going to probably still be there, but I think Ayuk is gone. I know you just signed Juwan Johnson for, I think, through 2025, but like Juwan Johnson's not the game changer, right? Here's the question. You know where this entirely hinges on? Brock Purdy. The public still does not believe in Brock Purdy.
Do you?
No, I don't. I think if you stuck Bryce Young into the San Francisco 49er offense, I think his numbers would double.
See, I don't know about that because we saw how bad they were when Purdy wasn't in there. I think you got to have a certain kind of mind to handle that offense, how complicated it is, and not everyone can do that.
I think with that skill set out there.
So Sam Darnold, is he still there?
No, he went up to back up J.J. McCarthy.
But Sam Darnold was there as the backup, and they went with Brock Purdy.
Yeah. I'm not saying Brock Purdy's bad. I'm just saying I'm kind of over putting Brock Purdy into the category of elite quarterbacks. I don't think he's an elite quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback that has the most elite weaponry out there. The only competition this year is the Chicago Bears.
He's definitely not elite. Without a doubt, he's not elite. But he's
I'll
not
put it this
bad
way.
Either.
I think I think beating 12 wins. I think getting to 13-4 requires an elite quarterback, and I don't think that's Brock Purdy. So I think you can get to 12 with a good quarterback, which is why I think Dallas was able to get there because I think Dak's good. Elite? Absolutely not. That's why I think Detroit got there last year to 12 wins. Because is Stafford an elite quarterback? No, but he's a very good quarterback with good weapons around him. And I put Brock Purdy in that same boat. One more.
Stafford's not in Detroit.
Not Stafford, Goff. Yeah. Last one. New York Jets. New York Jets have the 4th easiest schedule in the league. They are favored today in 14 out of 17 games. The Bills and the Dolphins step back. Their over-under win total has been hanging out in the neighborhood of 10.5. The public money very in on the over on the Jets, and it has pushed the sharp money to the under.
All right. Out of all the things you said today, this is the biggest gamble. Because if the quarterback stays healthy, over. If he doesn't, under. And
good luck with that.
You can almost say that anywhere, but especially with the Jets.
Yep. Good luck with that. I will let that one hang on. Some of the others they say are contested right now. The Tennessee Titans at 6.5. The over-under at 110. The under is now as much as a minus 140 favorite, depending on where you look at. I'm probably going with the under on the Titans. Joey B says he's under on the Chargers, Cowboys, and Bills, and he's over on the Bengals, Texans, and Falcons. I actually really like that list. I really like all 6 of those picks. Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. I have been sent to my Twitter a picture of the Archangel Malach. So I'm going to look to determine if we have made a grave mistake.
I can't see. You got something blocking.
Yeah, no, I'm going to refresh it. And I'm going to keep us 10 more seconds so that Lonzo can react to the picture.
That's
a large individual.
That's a wonderful looking young man.
That's a large individual.
I cannot wait to see him slam you.
Oh, God. My back hurts. Anybody else?
It will.
Sports Flash.
No.
New life.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me...
dark as I thought they would be.
It's an enforcer, son. Final hour of the show, final hour of the week starts now, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. It is the Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate. It is spectacular to have you. I am Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, with me as always, as we wrap up our week of broadcasting, talking a lot of football today on the show. We do have a lot of other stuff to get into in the world today. Let's talk a little college ball here for just a minute. I'm curious as to how you guys are going to react to this. Heather Dinich, who is a favorite of the show. Lonzo doesn't have his clips right now, so
poof.
There it is. Love Heather. She's great, man. So Heather Dinich put up an article on ESPN entitled 3 Things You Love and 3 Things You'll Hate About the College Football Playoff in 2024. And here's the things that she threw up there. I kind of want your gut reaction to each. Multiple ways to get in touch with the show today. 844-326-3663. That's 844-FAN-FONE. That is the number to the Renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone. You can also text us at 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N to 71307, and we'll read them on the air. And, of course, you can tweet me at The Rob Brown Show. Tweet Lonzo at Lonzo on Word. Tweet us all up at the station by hitting us up at VFan Upstate on Twitter. Come at us, bro. Let's jump in. You want to start with the love or the hate, great one? Where do we want to start?
Let's start with the hate.
Let's start with the hate.
Yeah, that way we can end with love.
3 things to hate about a 12-team playoff. Let's start with number 1, according to Heather Dinich. She said, you will hate when your team is in the selection committee's top 4, but gets the number 5 seed. We know the 4 highest ranked conference champions are in the top 4 seeds in a first round bye. That means on Selection Sunday, fans could see number 1, Georgia, the SEC champ, number 2, Texas, the SEC runner-up, but the Longhorns would get the number 5 seed because they didn't win the conference and would have to win 4 straight games to win the national title. The same holds true for Notre Dame. Every year, the Irish could be the number 1 team in the country on Selection Day, but can never be seeded higher than number 5 because they can't win a conference title. Notre Dame would always have to win 4 straight games to win the national title. We will consider that the independence tax. You want to be an independent? You want to be proud of it? Fine. Your path is always harder than everybody who plays in a conference. Heather's not wrong. That's going to be a spot where if you are, say, number 2 in the SEC, and let's say the only game you lose is the SEC championship, and let's say that the ACC champion ends up at 10-2, but is yet still one of the top 4 conference champions, you could end up with a, say, Clemson team that is 11-2 on the year with an ACC title game, who gets the opportunity to play or to not play in the opening round, gets a bye in the first round, while you've got to play a home game, but play that 4th game, etc. That's going to come around. Now, in the playoffs, we've seen plenty of teams that, I don't know, went 13-0, won their conference, and did not get to play for a national championship at all. At least those teams will be in, and I'll be real honest, we've gone back, as we have multiple times, and looked at the teams in the playoff era, dating back to the BCS era, teams that checked in the BCS era at number 3.
Well,
or number 5.
If I recall, Ohio State won the first one, and and people didn't think they should have been in there. So it happens a lot. I don't see why 5 is that bad. If it's just
just one more game.
If it's just about the bye, what does a bye mean when you used to have 30 days off before you play your first game?
Yeah.
I mean, a bye doesn't really mean that much.
I think it's less about the rest and more about the fact that you're coming off a game where you're playing a football game versus a team that's not. You're coming into a game a week after you are in a beat 'em up contest. And likely, again, keep in mind, you're not just having to play a game, but you are having to play a game against one of the best 12 teams in America. Even if you were at home, you have still got the opportunity to get beat up in that spot. And if that is the case, and you're playing a team that has gotten the chance to basically have an extra week of rest and rehab before they play. That it just makes it a little more difficult. Maybe not all that much, but it makes it more difficult. So second item to hate about the 12-team playoff, according to Heather Dinich. When your team is number 12 on selection day, but is excluded from the playoff. Heather says this 12-team playoff does not necessarily mean the top 12 teams in the committee's ranking are in, because the 5 highest ranked conference champions are guaranteed a spot in the playoff. A conference champion ranked outside of the top 12 could bump out number 12 in the country for a spot in the bracket. She points out that last year, Oklahoma was the committee's number 12 team, but Liberty won the Conference USA Championship. They finished the year ranked number 23 and would have knocked the Sooners out. In 2022, Washington was the committee's number 12 team, but the Huskies would have been excluded in favor of number 16, Tulane, who won the AAC and were the 5th highest ranked conference champion. Last year, the ACC had one team only inside the selection committee's top 12 on selection day. If FSU finishes number 12 this year and does not win the ACC, they could be in jeopardy of being excluded from the playoff a second time. There are no guarantees for any teams except the 5 highest ranked conference champions. A lot of people are going to look at that and you're going to say, okay, you're going to exclude an Oklahoma or you're going to exclude a Washington, we'll say Power 5, a Power 4 football team in favor of the little guy. But we've seen the little guys make noise in the past. I think you've got to keep them in. I'm going to push back on Heather. I don't hate this at all, because rarely do I think the number 12 team at the end of the season is going to be a legitimate contender. Whereas I think there's been a lot of Cincinnati's, Locals, Tulane's, teams that, because Tulane beat USC in the bowl game that year, a lot of those little guy teams that, because they don't play in a Power 5 conference, the voters are never going to put them up inside the top 10 or top 5, but we also never really know how good they actually are, and this is going to open it up to give them a chance. This one I don't really care that much about.
Yeah, neither do I. I mean, there's going to be an argument every year about who should get the last spot, no matter how many playoff teams there are. But when you get further down, when you're down to 12, I mean, come on. It's the chances that a number 12 team could win the whole thing. I don't know what they are, but they've got to be very, very slim. And if you're fighting to get that 12th spot, chances are you're going to be out the next week anyway.
And finally, number 3 thing that you are going to hate about the 12-team playoff, according to Heather Dinich, when teams play each other 3 times. She points out, once again using the example, Clemson and Florida State play each other on October 5th this year. It is, as of right now, the Vegas most likely scenario that Clemson and Florida State face each other again in the ACC championship game, which also makes it very possible that Clemson and Florida State could play each other again a 3rd time in the 12-team playoff. That could also happen with Auburn and Alabama, Alabama and Georgia. It could happen with Ohio State and Michigan, Utah and Arizona. You can pretty much, as we now no longer have divisions in the biggest conferences, it could pretty much happen any year for any 2 teams that you would play once in the regular season. You meet up again in the conference championship game. The winner gets a bye. The loser plays in round 1. And then they just get rematched again in round 2 or round 3 or the national championship game when it's all said and done. I don't know that I hate this one either, because while I understand with a 4-team playoff, the concept of they've already played and we had a winner, so let that stand is one thing. With a 12-team playoff, it would not be that big of a shock if 2 teams played each other twice, played 2 really good football games, and everybody looks and goes, those are both 2 of the top 12 teams in America and should earn a crack in the postseason. I'm going to say, of the 3 things Heather Dinich listed as things you'll hate about the 12-team playoff, one of them I do, 2 of them I really none of them I hate.
I mean, the perfect example is Ohio State and Michigan last year. I mean, Ohio State ranked 1 or in the top 3 the entire season until they lost to Michigan. they would have been in the playoff again. Who wouldn't want to see that game again? I mean, it would have been still two of the top teams in the entire college football.
And I think that's
again.
it. I think that's exactly it. I think at the end of last year, we all looked around and thought Ohio State, Michigan are definitely two of the best teams in college football. But because of the fact that Michigan beat Ohio State, because of the fact that we only had 4 slots in the postseason, and we looked and said, there may be 4 teams as good as Ohio State. Actually, there may have been more.
And there was still speculation that Ohio State could still get in there.
There was, not for me. I didn't think so. I thought there was too many good teams last year, but there are a lot of years where absolutely that's true. In fact, we've seen it before.
Well, if
the year before,
I mean, if Florida State wasn't there, the argument would have been greater for Ohio
100%.
State to get in.
I agree entirely. So now let's look at the 3 things Heather Dennis says you're going to love about the 12-team playoff. She starts with number 1. The FSU incident will never happen again. To be clear, an undefeated conference champion for the Big 12, SEC, ACC, or Big 10 will not be excluded from the playoff. The 5 highest-ranked conference champions will automatically qualify along with the next 7 highest-ranked teams. If FSU wins the ACC title, they're in. Jim Phillips said, commissioner of the ACC, quote, "We certainly won't face what happened in 2023 with an undefeated conference champion being left out," which I think is a great thing for everybody. Spot on agree, because one player does not a championship team make. Okay. So to me, I already thought if you are 13-0 and win a Power 5 conference, you should be in the Final Four. I do not care who gets hurt. I don't care what happens. If you go 13-0 and you win your conference, you should go. And now that is a guarantee, which to me is a good thing, especially now that it will be more difficult than it ever has been in the history of college football to win a conferences. The biggest conferences are big as hell. They are good as hell. For me to go 13-0 and win a conference championship, you should be guaranteed a slot. We kind of thought that everybody was up until last year. Now they definitely are.
I'm so happy for all the Florida State fans out there that you won't get that done to you again. Good for you.
Number 2, you can still lose and still compete for a national title. Denich writes, there was a tremendous pressure to go undefeated in the 14 playoff, and it still wasn't good enough for FSU. This system will be far more forgiving, and a lot of teams will benefit from it, starting with Notre Dame. The independent Irish don't have a conference championship game to impress the selection committee, but they will not have to compete with the 4 winners of the SEC, Big 10, Big 12, and ACC for one of the top 4 spots. Notre Dame, even with a loss, maybe 2, can join those league champs in the bracket as an at-large team. She also points out that an expanded field also means you should expect to see the first 2 loss teams qualify for the playoff. She points out that Missouri and Ole Miss, which both finished at 11-2 last year, would have qualified, as would have 2-loss Oregon, 2-loss Penn State, 1-loss Ohio State. She also points that, so for instance, you're Penn State. You don't have to beat Ohio State and Michigan to win a Big Ten East anymore. Well, a Big Ten East that doesn't exist anymore, but you now have a greater margin for error, which means that in the playoffs, I don't know if this statement may be one thing that some of y'all would add to the actually I hate it list. That, quote, a greater margin for error also opens up the door for a Cinderella team to make a run, and not just the highest ranked group of 5 conference champ like Memphis or Boise State, but programs like Arizona, Oklahoma State, Louisville, Kansas State, and NC State, who may drop 2 or 3 games in a conference, but because that conference is exceptionally good at the top and still be able to get in and prove that they deserve to be there. I actually really do like that. I think more good teams playing more good games is good for the game.
Yeah, I can't go against that. I'm good with that.
And the third team, Heather Denich says you will love about, the third thing you will love about the expanded 12-team playoffs is that this will be the deepest November field the sport has ever seen. She writes, while the usual suspects will remain, the field for the CFP will go as deep as each respective power conference. It starts with the race for the conference championships, and the ACC has multiple teams capable of winning the league, starting with FSU, Clemson, Louisville, NC State, Miami. The 16-team Big 12 is wide open. Well, actually, she writes wide with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 eyes in it.
That's a lot of eyes.
It is. The 16-team Big 12 is wide open with Oklahoma and Texas leaving. So contenders start with Utah, Oklahoma State, Arizona, and Kansas State. The SEC starts with Georgia, Texas, and Alabama, but Mizzou and Ole Miss are also trending up. The Big Ten has lofty expectations for Ohio State, Oregon, Michigan, and Penn State, but USC will make things interesting as well. Again, I do like this. More good teams playing more good games is good for the sport. And while it is also going to, as the NFL does, there are going to be years, undoubtedly, where the team that we all think is the best team in college football, undefeated, wins a Power 4 conference championship, gets the first round bye, and let's say they're an offense-based team. They're a fast offense-based team, right? They're a team that's based on running and gunning and having fun. They come out, they sit an extra week. There is no tune-up game for the playoffs. They get in, and would you look at that? Number 1 goes down to number 8 in the second round because number 8 played, and they got their rhythm, and they got their routine, and they got their pattern, and they were able to kind of get back chemically on the same page. Whereas the number 1 team sat out the extra week, did not play a home game to kind of boost the confidence level. They're playing cold coming into the second round, and they get bounced. It happens every year in the NFL. And before anybody from the college ranks starts to cry, it happens every year in the NFL. And Zoe and I, both as NFL first guys, can attest. We don't complain about it. We go, that sucks. That sucks. You were the best team in the regular season, but you weren't the best team in the playoffs, and that's what matters.
Should have been ready.
That's where you are now.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that at all. It's going to be interesting. Just you mentioning the extra Big Ten teams, as these conferences get bigger too. There's no guarantee who's going to be at the top. I mean, look at the Big Ten with adding all Oregon and all those teams. I cannot wait to see what the hierarchy is now.
It's going to be interesting. I think having a deeper field of quality teams is good for the sport. I think it's good for the postseason. I think it's good for the fans. It's obviously good for the folks that are in charge of the television because they're paying like a gazillion damn dollars for it. I think this is good for everybody. All right. So push back. 844-326-3663 on the phone line. Text us 71307. Start your text with fan. Which of those did Heather Dinich get right? Which did she get wrong? What are you excited about? What do you hate regarding the expanded playoffs? We'll talk more when we come back on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. And of course, you gotta be kidding me.
Mine's getting ready to die because there's no electric.
Boogie, woogie, woogie. Is there not one on the wall behind the things, panels? All right, guys, we're going to step away for a minute because I got to go blow my damn nose. Yep. Engineering? Hey!
Bless you.
Thanks.
In the game.
I could go borrow an extension cord for a couple minutes.
Yeah. That's a bummer.
Yeah. I didn't break the wire. Do have backups, but I don't want to use them.
Hey, come on!
Does that help when you yell?
Uh-oh.
Years of unfiled tax returns, there's no need to fear anymore. But you have to call the Community Tax Helpline.
Oh.
Nice.
4574.
Oh.
Don't take on the IRS alone.
I received your tweet there, Brother Silas, and I want you to know I've made regrettable decisions. This is going to be up at the top of the list. Top of the list. Whew.
Big old boy.
Wondering what that sneeze was. Catastrophe, James. And I don't know that I'm done.
Some sneezes pack a kick. You know, that ain't fun. What do we got? We got a 30, then a reach, or we got this Home Depot, then a 30. So, got about a minute. Have that ready to go.
Wash and dry in one cycle with the Samsung Ultra Capacity All-in-One Washer Dryer Combo from the Home Depot. Then enjoy your summer while your laundry takes care of itself. Right now, get laundry savings select laundry appliances at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Pricing about May 16th to June 5th. U.S. only. See store online for details.
It's Bet MGM tonight.
2 years ago, he pretty much individually won me my fantasy baseball league. This was 2 years ago because last year's team was not good. Yeah, because I couldn't do the draft. I had cousin Joe do the draft. He got drunk instead, and that's we didn't take it. You and I were doing the show. Yeah, it's just you and me in here. And, yeah. I told you to, like, when you're up, take it off. I'll talk. I'll be fine. I would have helped you out. I just would have won that percentage of the wins. That's all. Bet MGM tonight.
Live sports betting updates as they happen. Weeknights at 7
On the fan.
Rise and shine, sports fans. That's streaming. Grab your coffee and get a jolt of sports on the Joe Show with Lonzo. Now, weekday morning, 6 to 10 on the Fan Upstate.
College baseball regionals firing up this evening. Up in Raleigh, North Carolina. The South Carolina Gamecocks are on the road. They've got the regional with NC State going down up at Raleigh, and that is going to be, I think, an interesting one. And listen, I go back to the SEC tournament. The Gamecocks really performed pretty well in the SEC tournament. If we're keeping it a buck. The problem is the two losses you took, both to LSU, both of them completely unnecessary. And I would almost say borderline inexcusable. I know a lot of Gamecock fans ready to move on from Mark Kingston. And to be honest with you, I get it. I understand. I have said, in fact, I sent out a tweet during the second game against LSU, a game you held, what, a 6-0 lead at one point, an 8-0 lead at one point? I mean, there's zero reason to go back and lose that game. But here's the reality. Your pitching is not what it needs to be. Is that on Kingston? Yeah, 100% it is. Part of the coaching responsibilities are to put together a good pitching staff. And the reality here is that in order to survive, in order to thrive in the college baseball postseason, you've got to be able to lean on your pitching. South Carolina could not. They lost in the semifinals of the Southeastern Conference tournament. Now, you made the Southeastern Conference tournament semifinals. That is one of the best two conferences in baseball. And if you go based on the number of teams that they got into the regional, they are the best conference in college baseball. Honestly, I think you probably could have removed two teams from the SEC, added one from the Big 12 and one from the ACC, and that would have been a more accurate regional. But hey, I'm not in charge yet. Anyway, you made it to the semifinal, and LSU was your kryptonite, right? They just were. You had them down in 2 games. You had them down by a lot of runs in 2 games, and in 2 games, you just blew it. You blew both of those games for the exact same reason. You blew both of those games because you don't have the pitching to be able to screw up. It's real simple. You don't have the pitching to be able to screw up. That's all it comes down to. You ended up in a spot where you made too many errors. And I know that, you look at the box score, and the box score in the second game, in the semifinal game, I think South Carolina only got dinged for 2 errors in that game. There were more than that. I'll give you one example. LSU making their way back. I think at this point they were down 2-3 runs. LSU's got a runner on second. They show a drag bunt. The third baseman comes charging in to cover the bag. Now, in that situation with a runner on second, the shortstop's got to get over and cover third. This is elementary baseball, pardon me. This is elementary baseball. This is little league stuff. If there's a man on second, there's a drag bunt to third, and the third baseman comes up to cover that bunt, the shortstop has got to outrace the runner to go cover up third. This is the stuff that I would teach middle schoolers. The drag bunt ends up halfway between the third baseman and the pitcher. The third baseman picks it up and goes to fire to third for the tag out and keep a runner out of runner in scoring position. But the shortstop did not go cover third base. So the third baseman turns. He goes to fire over to third base. There's nobody there. And at this point, he didn't just look at third. He squared the body up to third for the throw. So he was facing away from first base. Realized, I got nobody to throw the ball to. So then he's got to spin the next 180 back around, fires it over to first base, and sails the ball. Runner scores. Bunter ends up into a bunt double. Now, it was labeled a throwing error. But if you're a baseball guy and you're watching that play, you know that the error that caused all of it was because there was just an elementary baseball move that did not happen. That's it. That's literally all it was. It was an elementary error on the shortstop to not cover the bag that caused the third baseman to have to spin in a circle like a dog chasing its tail and then wing one on the spin that ended up in the bullpen down the first baseline. You don't have the pitching to do that. You don't have the pitching to be able to make that move and make that mistake. You can't do it. And that is a massive problem. So my question for you here, as you head into the regionals, a regional in which you got JMU out of the gate. JMU, by the way, that's got some hitters on these teams. I'm going to introduce you to a name that you are going to learn this evening, Gamecock fans. His name is Fenwick Trimble. Fenwick Trimble.
What a name for a baseball player.
Fenwick Trimble should be on the rowing team, right?
Now coming up the bat.
As a PA announcer in the stadium, you're trying to get hype about these guys. And they hit the walkout music. First off, that guy's walkout music is totally like Flight of the Bumblebee, right? There's totally some classical music. And you'd be in the box
or something like ragtime. So something that lets you think of the 30s or the 40s or something.
Batting first for James Madison, Fenwick Trimble. However, Fenwick Trimble is a 370 batter with 14 homers, 61 RBIs, and more walks than strikeouts. My dude has 17 strikeouts on the season. The whole season, 17 times as he's been K'd. He's walked 27 and stolen 16 bases. There are players around this regional. There are players that are going to put the ball into place. I'm going to tell you the guy you should face in day number 2. For the record, I am by no means guaranteeing that South Carolina, the 2 seed, knocks off James Madison, the 3 seed in game 1. But tomorrow, if you do, you're going to meet another kid from North Carolina State named Alec Makarovitz. He plays third base for NC State. How about this? He's a 376 batter. He has 20 doubles, 19 dingers, and 71 RBIs for NC State this year. He's a guy that's going to put the ball into play, like a lot of times. You are facing a regional that's got a lot of guys that can swing the bat. A lot of guys that can swing the bat. A lot of guys that are going to put the ball in play. And I'm not just talking about dingus. You got a couple of guys from James Madison. You got a couple of guys from NC State. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know a lot about Bryant. I've got their stats leaders, but I've never watched a Bryant game, so I can't give you much. But I am going to say, as far as NC State and as far as JMU go, they got a lot of contact batters. They got a lot of guys that are batting north of 300, a lot of guys that are going to put the ball in play. So if you are in South Carolina here, the game is very simple. I need my pitching to be above average. I need my pitching to be the best that it's been, and my defense cannot make mistakes. You cannot have 2 or 3 unforced errors if you're South Carolina in this regional. If you do, it's going to be a very quick exit from the NCAA's baseball's postseason tournament. You can't do it. Can't have it. This is a problem. So I have got to hope that what happened in the 2 games that you lost against LSU in the NCAA Southeastern Conference Baseball Championship Tournament, I'm going to hope the lessons got learned. I am going to hope that all 8 guys playing defense out there, or pitcher. Let's go 7 guys playing defense plus the pitcher. I am going to hope that they are going to be every single pitch running through the scenario in their head, if X then Y, because it felt to me like that did not happen in the SEC tournament. It happened against Alabama in game 1. You looked fine. It happened in game 2 in the winners bracket. But the 2 games against LSU, both times, I genuinely felt like South Carolina's defense, did not see the elementary aspects to baseball. I cannot have a shortstop who does not understand that in the situation with a runner on second, nobody on first, that a drag bunt to third requires him to go cover the bag. Because the ball got fielded clean and quick. That, with a pickup, a turn and a fire to third base, if that runner advances, it's a tag out with anything close to a decent throw. If nothing else, with the shortstop racing to third base and the third baseman cleanly fielding that, at the worst case, you're holding that runner at second. And now, you didn't get anybody out, but now all of a sudden you got to force out at any bag instead of ending up what happened, which is it got thrown up into row G. You scored one and you moved a bunter into scoring position. That can't happen. That's the game for South Carolina. Defensively, don't freaking blow it. That's all. All right, when we come back, we'll take a look at the Clemson regional. Clemson getting the opportunity to host this regional. They will open up today with High Point in round number 1. We'll talk a little bit about what that matchup looks like, as well as what Clemson needs to do to get through this regional and into the supers. That's all coming up on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
South Carolina faces James Madison, while NC State takes on Bryant. Clemson Regional, the Tigers battle High Point, Coastal Carolina against Vanderbilt.
Be ready to play Twitter.
This it right here.
Southeast Missouri tangles with Arkansas while Kansas State takes on Louisiana Tech. Tallahassee Regional, UCF faces Alabama. Florida State takes on Stetson. Regional action is a double elimination format.
Oh no, Rob, you're a younger guy.
I am.
You can handle Malik. You can handle it.
For sure.
You are former tag team partner of Billy Gunn and Daddy.
What's his name? I forgot. What's he call himself?
No, Billy Gunn is that guy.
No. What's his nickname? I forgot.
Daddy.
Can't remember what he calls himself.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
Mr. Butt.
Yeah, I used to have to say that when I was a kid growing up. My parents wouldn't let me say that. It has to be like Mr. Butt.
Mr. Butt.
Colton's dad. That's who we're talking about.
Many patients lose 20 to 30 pounds in about a month.
Boys, I got to tell you, I'm.
That's a good one right there, Joe. I think that works for me. Bad behind William Gunn.
But God, but Bob, but my name's Billy. It doesn't. All-time classic.
Is switching your wireless service to Total
Gunta.
Fiber easy? Now you can get 50% off any unlimited data phone plan. That's one line for only $25 a month, and you keep the phone you love. Hurry, this is a limited time offer. So find a store or switch suavemente at TotalFiberHorizon.com. Offer ends July
Shout out to Chris for bringing me the cord.
Old Captain America, Chris Evans down the
If
hall.
I'd have known we were going baseball for the whole second half, I would have said never mind. So
It is regional day. It's one of the best days.
no,
of the year.
no, I am not saying that you shouldn't talk about it because you absolutely should. Although you can make the next segment kind of short, but that's
Yeah, we're at Ingalls and rejoining after this Granger. And this cord is not going to cut it. Find headphones over the weekend with a longer cord. These are nice.
Ofamente.
I don't think you've ever said that right yet.
I just said it right.
I thought it was like Portamente.
I don't know. Alexa Bliss has been posting a bunch of pictures of her in gear.
Imagine that.
The Rob Brown Show continues. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob and Lonzo with you as we wrap up our Friday afternoon of broadcasting. So let's talk a little more baseball, shall we? Clemson's regional. You've got coming to town Vanderbilt, Coastal Carolina, and High Point. You got High Point in round one as you are the host of this regional. High Point comes in out of the Big South where they were 17-7 in conference, 34-25 overall. And I will tell you that with all due respect to the High Point, whatever they are, not a team that's got a ton that is impressive on the schedule. They did have a 7-4 game back in February at Tennessee. That came 2 days after they got beat by Ole Miss 25-2. All right. It's a respectable team out of a small conference. They also beat Richmond 25-5 at one point. So it's a very weird schedule, but the deeper this team
They
got
appear to
in,
be Panthers, by the way.
there you go. The High Point Panthers. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. The High Point Panthers, respectable. commendable. They've got wins over Gardner Webb. They've got wins over USC Upstate down the line. They got a win over Charleston Southern. They've got a lot of games against some bigger division teams earlier. They didn't really beat any of them, right? So if you're Clemson, you just got to do what Wake Forest did. You've got to do what Appalachian State did. You got to do what, again, Wake Forest did. I mean, they really haven't played any competition that is anywhere near the level of Clemson. So my thought there is going to be Clemson's got one opponent. I say this with all due respect to the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, who come into this as a 16-14 conference record out of the Sun Belt and a 34-23 overall record. But it is another team that when I go look up and down the schedule, more often than not, when they played Power 5 competition, they did not win. Now, unlike High Point, this is a team that competed against the mid-majors, competed against the middle of the pack when it comes to college baseball. They lost to Indiana. They lost to Duke. They beat Michigan. Now, for whatever reason, a reason that I honestly can't put my finger on, Lonzo may or may not have insight into this. The Big Ten's not good at baseball for some reason. And I don't understand it. Like you should be.
Cold there in the spring.
It's actually not unfair.
Yeah, I mean,
who the hell wants to go play baseball in Michigan?
I will tell you that high school baseball, when I was there, not that big of a deal. Other sport, because of football and wrestling, baseball was way down there. Below track, actually.
It does look like that way from the standings. This team did beat Wake Forest. They took 2 out of the 3 against James Madison. They lost to NC State. They dropped 2 on the road at Appalachian State. Coastal Carolina was supposed to play Clemson back in late March. You will remember that game got canceled due to weather and could not be moved. They split with Wake Forest 1-1. They lost to North Carolina by a single run, but then they ended on a 4-game losing streak, dropping a pair to Creighton and dropping a pair to Troy. They took 3 out of the 3 against Marshall. Like it's a decent Coastal Carolina. It's a threat of a Coastal Carolina team. How's that? It is a threat of a Coastal Carolina team. Here's the thing. The last 5 regionals that have been played at home at Doug Kingsmore, Clemson's 0 for 5. 2 of those 5, Vanderbilt came to town and they won this whole thing. I would point out about Coastal Carolina. Gary Gilmore is calling it a career at the end of this season. They're going to be motivated, yeah. Like they're going to be motivated. They want to send their coach out on a high. They don't want his last season to go getting bounced in the first round of the postseason. So Coastal Carolina is dangerous, and I think it would be foolish if you're Clemson not to pretend that they are. But we talked about South Carolina. I said, look, you got to play. You got to play perfect baseball. Your pitching is not good enough that you can make unforced errors. Clemson just has to play Clemson baseball. They are the best team in this bracket. However, watch out for Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt scares me because of one thing and one thing alone. Their pitching is stellar. Their pitching is stellar. Their pitching is just about as good as you're going to find in the regional round. And as I've said a whole lot of times, pitching is what wins you postseason games when it comes to college baseball. Pitching is what takes you to the next level. They have got 2 guys on the rotation with an ERA under 3. They've got 3 more guys with an ERA under 4. And the momentum for Vanderbilt has been untouchable. Vanderbilt is carrying specifically pitching momentum into this. You go back to the SEC tournament. They lost to Tennessee, but they lost 6-4. And y'all, I cannot tell you how good of a baseball team Tennessee is. Tennessee's baseball team is ridiculous. It has got multiple MLB top-notch draft picks on it. Tennessee is the betting odds-on favorite to win the entire national championship. So dropping a 6-4 decision to them inside the last 2 games in the SEC tournament, ain't nothing wrong with that. Oh, and by the way, they beat Tennessee in Game 7 of the SEC tournament. They bounced Florida from the tournament. They dropped 2 out of the 3 against Kentucky, but they won the last one against Kentucky, which started a 4-game win streak that did not end until Tennessee. They dropped 2 out of 3 against Tennessee in their second to last regular season series, but they lost the 2 games 8-4, 7-6. It's not like they were getting blown out. This Vanderbilt team and the way they're pitching has been on an upward trajectory since that Tennessee series. You just got to hit the baseball. Cam Cannarella, got to hit the baseball. Aiden Kanak, we've talked about him with John Blau on Mondays for the past couple of weeks. Got to throw the ball well. This is a guy who is hovering his heater around 93, can touch 96, 97 on his best day. I need him to be very good. I need Clemson's defense to be exceptional. Because this, again, with due respect to Coastal Carolina, the only threat in this bracket to Clemson is Vanderbilt in their pitching. That is it. That's the threat. That's what you're looking at. Eric Bakich previewed the regional a little bit, pointed out a couple of things that he is keeping his eye on in a presser yesterday, and he mentioned these things. He talked about Vanderbilt's pitching. He talked about understanding that defensively, because of Vanderbilt's pitching, they understand in that game, in this regional, runs are at a premium. Runs are at a premium. And I think you got to treat it that way. This is about doing whatever you got to do to make sure that the bats are hot very early in this one. So we'll keep an eye on it. 1 or 2 more things before we get up out of here for the day. We mentioned this earlier in the show. I'll bring it back one more time. Boston opens up in the NBA Finals as a -225 favorite. Dallas Mavericks +185 to open up as dogs in this. The Celtics also open as a 6-point favorite over Dallas in Game 1. That game is next Thursday. Great one. I'm absolutely going Dallas +6 in game number 1. You got Porzingis coming back for the first time in 8 weeks at that point. You've got a Boston team that hasn't played in 9 days. Look at every team that's had rest in these series that has been 4 or 5 days plus. They've all lost the next game because that rhythm's not there. I'm going to go Boston to win the series. I'm going to go Dallas +6 to win game 1. That's how this thing's starting next Thursday.
Well, I definitely have Dallas winning the first game. I'm not so sure about the entire series, but why not? I've been rolling with Dallas this entire time. I'm going to go Dallas in 7.
I'm not unfair. Not unfair. I don't hate that. The NCAA has reached an agreement with multiple states in the lawsuit about multiple time transfer students. The NCAA and that group of states that sued the organization reached a proposed settlement of a lawsuit yesterday that would allow athletes to be immediately eligible to play no matter how many times they transfer, and would offer some who were sidelined an extra year of eligibility. Obviously, up until back in, what was it, January, February, somewhere in that range, you had the old transfer rules. You got a one-time transfer. You could transfer a second time, but you had to sit, or you could be a grad transfer and play immediately. A bunch of schools sued and said, wait a minute, you should not put this restriction on a kid. If he wants to change the school, he should be able to change a school. He should be able to go somewhere. And because of the lawsuit, the NCAA basically let the schools know, as of right now, we are not enforcing this. As of right now, players can transfer as often as they want. No worries. They can play. So now the NCAA is saying that that is likely to become permanent, again, to avoid any judgment down the line in a lawsuit, A, and B, also that they're going to backtrack. And if you had to sit out a year due to the single transfer rule, you will get that year of eligibility back to stick on to the end of the career should you elect to take it. I don't have any issue with this. This is the right call. This is the right call.
More NIL just in case you're not ready for the NFL yet, or even if you never will be. Take that extra year. Why not?
Dude, think about this. You're an NBA player. Or scratch that. You're a college basketball player. You find out that you are likely a, let's say, mid-second round pick. Only 2 rounds in the NBA draft. You're a mid-second round pick. And you find out you're going to be picked somewhere around 60, 50, 45, somewhere in that range. You're a very good college basketball player. You're a top 1% college basketball player. You're coming back, right? You're coming back. You got the eligibility. You can transfer to another school if you want. You're coming back now. Isn't that good for basketball? Isn't that good for basketball?
Why, yes, Rob. That's good for basketball.
Thank you, Lonzo. So wonderful of you to answer.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it.
All right, time to ask Rob what
You're good people.
the X is going on sometimes. The first thing that's Xing is Snoop Dogg.
Okay, I'm going to answer that. But before I get there, in my email right now, got to put a new commercial together for New Life. And in the radio business, Lonzo, we have a word that we use for when someone gives you a piece and you have to record in the middle, right? They have a tag in the front, a tag in the back, and it's blank in the middle, and you record in there. What's that called? It's a donut.
It's a donut.
Yeah. You got something on the front, you got a hole in the middle. They just sent me, one of our downstairs salesperson just sent me an email that said donuts for next week. And I was like, why would you say that to me? You know what I'm doing. You set me up. Why would you email that? Before I realized it's a word thing. Snoop Dogg is trending because he was at the game last night, the Minnesota-Dallas game. And after Luka Doncic hit a logo 3 and then a baseline leaner and all that, Luka was walking to the sideline, caught sight of Snoop and started, pardon the pun, barking at Snoop and the gang. And Snoop just looked at the camera and hit the shrug like,
yeah, but
what are you going to do?
Luka also, Michael Jordan shrugged towards Snoop.
He did. It was great.
Yeah,
it was great.
Really
My
was.
favorite thing was when he looked at the Minnesota fans and hit them with a, who's crying now? I was like, oh.
He was singing Journey?
Oh, Luka. I like this.
All right, the next thing is Xing.
Did you hear them booing him on the trophy presentation? Did you stick around for that?
No.
It was incredible. He just laughed at the crowd. He's like, oh, I hear you, as he lifted his conference finals MVP trophy.
Next thing is Xing is Vince McMahon.
Why? He's gone.
Let
Can
me-
we stop?
Let me give you 3 letters. DOJ.
Oh. We got another lawsuit coming for Vincent Kennedy McMahon. I mean, cool. I'm good with it. That guy sucks.
Well, I guess
like a lot.
I guess after yesterday, all the big businessmen is going down.
By the way, Alexa Bliss has been posting a bunch of photos of herself in ring gear lately.
It's about that time.
About that time.
To be part of Uncle Howdy's 6.
About that time.
All right. The next thing and probably the last thing, Eminem is Xing.
Eminem. So I don't think this is why this is trending. However, Eminem's daughter Haley got married like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's not why. But
let me tell you what. My knees started hurting and I grew like 9/11 new gray hairs when Haley, who I've been listening to M rap about since I was in high school, got married. She's like a whole ass adult woman now. And so to see her get married, by the way, my man M, big fan, bro, he went hard on the Just for Men for her wedding ceremony. Did you see the pictures?
I did. Here's the reason why he's Xing though. New album dropping and also new video. I've watched the video without the sound. It's him with Slim Shady. It's him with all the different versions of him throughout the years.
Including the
It's
Just for Men version.
Yeah, it's just like the John Cena thing where John Cena was with him. Anyway,
I'm all
that's
in.
why he's Xing.
I'm all in. I'm gonna watch it as soon as the show's over.
You still coming tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just check.
I am.
Not that we want to plug it or anything. You know.
Upstate Pulse tomorrow, 7 to 9 on our brother station, WORD. Rob Brown will be there, and he is not up against the Nerf wall because he's very good at what he does. Y'all have a great weekend. Don't drink and drive. I will punch you right in the mouth. Greenville Triumph game on Sunday. Games at 4 o'clock. Tailgate at 1 o'clock. Come on out and see us. We'd love to see you. Greenville Liberty play tonight. I'll be on the call on social media. Make sure you check that out. Have a great weekend, everybody. For Lonzo, I'm Rob Brown. We'll see you next week on The Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate later. Yeah! Oh, okay, cool. VKM's catching that smoke. I don't know what to tell you. He earned it. He earned it. All right, dudes and dudettes, we got to bail up out of here because I got stuff to do and other phrases that mean I have to leave now. Thank y'all for being here. Appreciate it. You P1s, you're the best. Share the show. Tell your friends about it. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.